Tony Colombo here, reminding you to visit my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton before your next trip into the great outdoors. For decades, Bluff City Outdoors has covered all the needs for area fishermen, and they'll always have all the best bait, tackle, and gear for your next trip on the water. And now they cover all your bow hunting needs, including their state-of-the-art indoor archery range and techno hunt system, open every day for you to come shoot, or you can join a league. Follow Bluff City Outdoors on Facebook and learn more at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
Hey, I'd like you to get to know Dr. Daniel Cusimano and Dr. Megan Dwyer. Those are dentists and my dental team, along with their dental team at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles. You know, whether it's economic value with their dental savings plan and their real concern about giving you value, which is, of course, quality at a great price, or whether it's their personal values, their dedication to absolute precision. I can tell you when I go in and get my treatment there, or just a cleaning, whatever, it's always, I get this feeling it's like laser-guided precision. Well, yeah, they have lasers, but they don't do that for everything, of course. It's the right tool for the right job. Whether it is dental implants, whether it's just general dentistry, cosmetic dentistry, and by the way, he can use some Botox in all the right ways for those applications as well. You'll find the greatest of care, the greatest value, delivered with people who have real values, the values we share at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles. Get to know them by calling 636-978-0226, 636-978-0226, or advanceddentistrynow.com. That's Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles.
Hey, Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros. When Christine and I bought our new house, we knew the gutters were an issue, and after meeting the Gutter Pros team, we knew that they were right for us. Gutter Pros is your all-in-one gutter service team that offers a variety of affordable solutions, and they even offer free estimates, so there's no cost to you to find out if they are right for your home, just like they were for ours. If you're having a problem with your gutters, contact the Gutter Pros now, because with Gutter Pros, water goes where they tell it to. Call them at 314-656-7195 or visit gutterpros.com.
With so much happening.
I think it was President Reagan said, we're from the government. We're here to help.
So much to talk about.
Our education secretary flubbing one of Ronald Reagan's iconic lines.
9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
You never want to miss a moment.
There's nothing about this that shows anything good about Hamas.
On air, online, and always on your smart device.
The vast majority of those that were taken captive on that day are still there.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Beverage and join me for the all-new Fox News Saturday Night with Jimmy Fallon.
Fox News Saturday Night with Jimmy Fallon. Premieres Saturday, January 13th at 10 p.m. Eastern. Only on the Fox News Channel. Saturdays just got a whole lot funnier. Now, a look at what's happening from the Fox News Rundown.
Good morning. It's Monday, January 8th, 2024. I'm Ted Lindner. This is the Fox News Rundown. U.S. congressional leaders announcing a budget deal in both the Senate and House to avoid a partial government shutdown later this month. And later today, President Biden going to visit the Charleston church that was rocked by a mass shooting in June of 2015, where 9 black churchgoers were gunned down by a white supremacist. I'm Ted Lindner. This is the Fox News Rundown.
This is the Fox News Rundown.
This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and newstalkstl.com. The Vic Porcelli Show.
Ken Williams has the reins Monday. He'll do a great job. I know that. Ken and I will see you together Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Hi, Sean Long for STL Fenceworks. STL Fenceworks is proud and excited to install American-made aluminum and vinyl fence products, as well as American-made decking. For instance, STL Fenceworks has teamed up with Jareth Manufacturing. Jareth invented the aluminum fence industry over 50 years ago. The Jareth product is wholly sourced and manufactured in the U.S., and STL Fenceworks is the 3rd largest Jareth customer in the world. STL Fenceworks is vinyl fencing also, and not just white. We partner with National Vinyl Products to provide you with tan, clay, gray, and variegated wood grain vinyl fence products too, all made in the U.S. Not to be forgotten, STL Fenceworks is maintenance-free decking. STL Fenceworks is the #1 distributor of Wolf Cellular PVC in the Midwest, proudly manufactured in the U.S. and voted #1 maintenance-free decking product in the United States. Let STL Fenceworks make your outdoor space magical. Visit stlfenceworks.com today and learn how we can make your backyard dreams into a reality. At STL Fenceworks, your satisfaction is our passion.
Contact Seavers JCB now to take advantage of Section 179 of the IRS tax code that may entitle you to deduct the full price of qualifying equipment purchased or financed during 2023. Add to that JCB's incredible end-of-the-year financing opportunities, cash incentives, and rebates. There's never been a better time to own a JCB. Call Seavers JCB before year-end tax savings and financing offers expire, or visit online at seaversjcb.com.
Southern Armory, your hometown gun store. Come and be more than just a customer. Southern Armory, we carry the best guns, holsters, knives, magazines, ammunition, and even food storage. Special orders are welcome. Southern Armory, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, 9901 Watson Road, and southernarmory.com. That's southernarmory.com.
Whether you're purchasing your first firearm or adding to your collection at Southern Armory, you're more than a customer, you're part of the family. Follow Southern Armory on Facebook or at southernarmory.com.
The O'Reilly Update, brought to you by Seavers JCB. Visit them at their St. Peter's location.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, if you thought booking your timeshare was difficult before, you know it's almost impossible now. For more than a decade, Lone Star Transfer has helped thousands of owners legally and permanently get out of their never-ending timeshare fees. Lone Star Transfer guarantees the release of all liability to your timeshare in writing and in a specific time frame. For free, no-obligation consultation, please call 855-551-7066 or go to LoneStarTransfer.com. On this Monday, what do Benedict Arnold and former President Donald Trump have in common? Well, according to President Biden, they're both traitors, although he has not weighed in on Mr. Arnold, who sold out his country during the Revolutionary War. No, Joe Biden is concentrating 100% on Donald Trump, the insurrectionist, the man who tried to overthrow the American government. That will be the theme of the Biden campaign this year, because really, if you want to be honest, what else can Joe Biden run on? Food prices are up 20%. More than 10 million illegal aliens are running around the country. There is disorder in American cities, and 2 wars have broken out overseas. So what's Joe going to run on? He has to demonize Donald Trump, and that is not hard to do. So the election of 2024 comes down to Americans believing that Donald Trump is a traitor or rejecting Joe Biden on the grounds that he is incompetent. Where do you stand? Right back.
To avoid digital threats, turn on NordVPN. It's trusted by millions of users. Just visit NordVPN.com. One of the fastest VPNs on Earth will block web trackers, malicious websites, and malware-ridden downloads. It will also encrypt your internet traffic while maintaining a smooth connection. So improve your digital privacy and protection against hackers with one simple click. Get the special deal at NordVPN.com and enjoy safer internet daily. NordVPN. Cybersecurity built for every day.
That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. For more news and honest analysis, please go to BillO'Reilly.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Combo of rain, snow, and wind over the next couple of days. Our first round is this afternoon and this evening. A mix of rain and snow, maybe a little slush for the evening drive, but with a high of 41. I think that's more of an issue north and west of St. Louis. Tonight, we bounce back to all rain, and that continues through the morning rush tomorrow, a low of 37. Finally, as temperatures drop Tuesday afternoon, we switch to all snow. Final accumulations around the metro, 0 to 2 inches, with more to our northwest. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Agree.
I think conservatives have it wrong.
Or disagree.
I couldn't agree with you more.
The conversation happens here.
I agree with you on Trump. I'm shaking my head. I'm one of your liberal Democratic listeners, and I don't get why any of this even matters.
Because your voice matters.
Everybody told him he couldn't do it. and then he did do it. That's what you got to do. You got to play hardball.
I want to hear what people think and be able to talk about it.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. Having your first cup of coffee? Mike's on his third. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
You know, we haven't even had the first full week of the Missouri Legislature's 2024 session, and we've already had conflicts, things getting shut down early, and the gauntlets being thrown down both by the conservative side and kind of that squishy middle establishment side as well. Oh boy, we are in for quite a ride this time around. So where does the new Freedom Caucus come into play, and why do they want to be one of the drivers so bad? And frankly, there's a lot of people who say, why do we need them to be a driver of the legislative session so bad? I'm Mike Ferguson. Hey, thanks for making News Talk STL part of this Monday morning. I hope you had a great weekend. On Friday, Andy Roth. Now, that's a name you've probably not heard before, but he is the president of the Freedom Caucus Network National Association, and he's the guy who looked for the most conservative members of the Missouri legislative bodies, both the Senate and the House, and helped put together the new Missouri Freedom Caucus, which formally had their launch on Friday, and they're already shaking things up in the legislature. And you know what, Andy gave us a great look at why they want to have the Freedom Caucus here, why it's important to have a good one here, and what they hope to accomplish in this legislative session, and not just here in Missouri, but around the country as well with similar organizations. Here's what Andy had to say.
So you've come in from D.C. to be a part of this launch.
Yeah.
This is something you could have easily sent some representatives to. Obviously there's going to be a lot of local dignitaries there. What's important about Missouri getting a Freedom Caucus?
Well, the goal obviously is to have a state Freedom Caucus in all 50 states.
Yeah.
We know that it works in D.C., the House Freedom Caucus, made up of, the founders of Jim Jordan, Andy Biggs. Its new current congressman chairman is Congressman Bob Good from Virginia. We know they're the conservative North Star in D.C., but we don't have Freedom Caucuses in the states. And so 2 years ago, we launched the State Freedom Caucus Network to solve that problem. And the Georgia Freedom Caucus was our first one. And then we went into South Carolina and then South Dakota. Illinois, your neighbors, have a Freedom Caucus, which I think is fantastic since it's such a blue, horrible, progressive state.
They're going to be on defense full time as opposed to a state like Missouri where you can be on offense.
Correct. And so we've just been opening up new states for the last 2 years, and Missouri is going to be our 11th one. So I'm really excited to be here and to do this with the good folks in the legislature.
What are the major impediments to spreading this through all 50 states?
The lawmakers themselves.
Oh, geez. Really?
Yeah.
Like the ones on our side, not just our opposition here.
Correct. We can't just be the suits from D.C. that come in and say, hey, you're going to start a Freedom Caucus. They've got to want it, and they've got to know that we can help them. But at the end of the day, it's them. And I'll tell you what, some of our toughest states are deep red states. We've gone to Tennessee. We've gone to Alabama. And we cannot find anybody that wants to be a conservative lawmaker in the Freedom Caucus.
Now, we've talked about what happens in these deep red areas, that you end up with basically three parties. You got the Democrats, the Republicans, and the conservatives. And the Republicans and conservatives is where that internecine fighting kind of gets its worst. And I guess that's kind of what you're talking about, is it creates that impediment to a Freedom Caucus developing.
Correct. I mean, the problem in red states is that there are so many Republicans that Democrats run for those seats but put an R after their name. And then they vote like Democrats. And because everybody's attention is on D.C. and on Trump and Biden and the border, the Ukraine war, nobody's paying attention to the state capitol. So nobody knows that this is actually happening. And that's exactly how the establishment likes it. They want to be in the dark so they can move the money to where they want to put it.
Okay, so I'm sure you've seen, the media coverage and everything. media, they've already gone after the Freedom Caucus, which was predictable, clockwork. We knew it was going to happen. Freedom Caucus are far-right extremists. These are people who are just obstructionists. They want to stop everything. We've had other conversations a little bit earlier today even where somebody says, boy, I think they're right, but I want to see how they're going to get stuff done. It's one thing to fight, but it's another thing to fight and win, which is better than fighting and losing. And so first, let's talk about, the smearing that's already happening with you guys haven't even formally launched and you're already in the headlines there, which tells me that somebody's nervous.
We're over the target.
You're over the target. But secondly, we all want the fight. I want the fight. How do we get to the win part?
Yeah. I think it's funny when we're called extremists or, radicals when we want school choice. That's a pretty common sense thing.
Yep.
Lower taxes, a little bit more freedom, medical freedom. These don't seem radical to normal folks. So that's one point.
We'd like the border shut down.
Yeah.
Also,
that actually seems quite reasonable. Anybody that calls that radical or extremist is probably the radical in the worst way. How do we win? You have to expose what's going on. And not only do you actually fight on policy, but you actually have to make people aware of what is actually happening. I've been mentioning this recently. The states have balanced budget requirements. So people think, the states are doing a fine job. They have to balance their books. In South Carolina, they raised the budget by 15%. In Texas, it was 21%. There are double-digit increases in budgets all over these states, and that's not going back to the taxpayers. That's just more spending and more spending.
Right.
And so we have to fight on where the money goes, and that's where we have to be loud and noisy and make people aware of what's going on.
Okay, so question just came in on Rumble here, and it says, okay, I'm not a person that has tons of money to give to people. In what way can somebody like me help or get involved in this? Is this strictly a legislative thing, or is this something that the non-elected lay people can be involved with as well?
That's a great question. The establishment has all the money they need. The governor works 365 days out of the year. The lobbyists are full-time. They've got tons of money. The bureaucrats, the agencies, they work around the clock. But the people that are fighting for our liberties, they're part-time lawmakers. They've got full-time jobs. They've got families to worry about. So who's minding the store when the session is, they've gavelled out a session, right? So what we've done is take part-time lawmakers and turn it into a full-time Freedom Caucus. So to the listeners' question, that's why the State Freedom Caucus Network exists, is to provide resources and support to these lawmakers. So if they're so inclined, go to statefreedomcaucus.org and support our efforts. But in addition to that, if you live in Missouri and you want to help the Missouri Freedom Caucus, sign up for their newsletter, sign up for their Twitter handles, do everything you can to support them, not just financially, but vocally and
yeah, I mean, when there are voices of support, whether it's on a policy issue or something else, I mean, people are surprised at how few voices from the constituency actually makes a difference. I mean, we've heard,
it's huge.
Yeah, I mean, it's
ridiculous.
Yeah, so I mean, 100 people out of however many are listening right now, they do that, and when there's an action item and they call their lawmakers and like, hey, the Freedom Caucus is right on this. What's going on with this? They get 3, 4, 5, 10 of those. That puts people on alert in a state legislature.
Yeah, no, no doubt. Like in D.C., they get calls all the time, and so they become inured to hearing what's going on back home. But in the state legislature, if you get just 5, 10 phone calls on something, you're like, ooh, geez, I better be careful here. And in Wyoming, this is a great story. In Wyoming, the legislature's website lists the cell numbers of the state lawmakers.
Oh, wow.
And when the Wyoming speaker blocked school choice, banning transgender surgeries on minors and pornography in classrooms, when he unilaterally blocked all of that.
All of the bills that would
Yeah.
So he blocked the bills that were going to do the right thing.
Right.
Okay.
He's a bad speaker who blocked good bills.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We took his cell number and we sent it to everybody in his district and ruined his weekend. and now this session that's coming up, he's been forced to open up a little bit more, and he's still going to fight and scream and yell, but that's the kind of difference we can make.
You know what? And that is so important because the other side does that all the time.
Yeah.
And we seem to be the nice folks that just sit there and say, okay, that's fine. We'll move on to something else. And you're right. We need to really take a stance and make them realize, hey, those people are out there.
Yeah. And to my point before about taking part-time lawmakers and making it a full-time Freedom Caucus, once the session ends, we're not done. And I'll give you a great example. In South Carolina, our Freedom Caucus, they were out of session. They found out that the Medical University of South Carolina was doing transgender garbage on kids as young as 4 years old.
Oh, my gosh.
And the South Carolina Freedom Caucus put out a press statement that said, we see what you're doing. We don't like it. We're going to investigate you. We're going to do a FOIA request, and we're going to look at your funding. And if you've broken any laws, we're going to come after you. Within 3 months, the hospital shut down the transgender clinic and fired the lead doctor. And that was all out of session. No vote was taken. No bill was considered. And that's the sort of thing we want to bring to Missouri, because you guys are a part-time legislature. Who's minding the establishment? Who's watching them when you're not in session? That's what we want to do.
Okay, so is you're starting with 10, 11 lawmakers, current lawmakers.
Correct. I think we're actually up to 17 now.
Okay, I was about to say what because I know there are more than that who are aligned. So what's the growth opportunity? Because obviously, if you're going to have a caucus, you got to have numbers to have leverage.
You're right.
Yeah.
Well, the fun thing is that it's bicameral, right?
Right.
But some of our states are all just state house members. But what's really cool about Missouri is that your state senators apparently have enormous unilateral power as an individual lawmaker.
Yeah.
More so than any other state senate in the country, as I'm aware of. So that's wonderful. But your house is also very large by number. So I think the growth potential for a Missouri Freedom Caucus is going to occur in the House, mainly organically. But then who knows about the elections? In Louisiana, we launched down there with 9 earlier this year, or I guess it's last year now. We launched early last year. They did such a wonderful job, and they're one of those goofy states that have elections in the off years. They had elections in the fall. They endorsed like 30 people. Ended up winning like 20 of them. And the Louisiana Freedom Caucus more than doubled from 9 to like 21, 22.
Okay, so if somebody wants to be in the Freedom Caucus, they're elected official, do they just raise their hand and say, put my name on the list, love to get on the momentum, or is this something that they are vetted before they're part of the group?
Yeah, the Missouri Freedom Caucus members themselves decide whether they want to bring somebody in or not. And there is a vetting process. You can't just say, I want to be on the team. You have to be a committed conservative who's willing to work as a team to fight for good policy. So it's entirely up to the Missouri Freedom Caucus.
People learn more, they do what?
Yeah, go to statefreedomcaucus.org. That's our main website. We've got a map of the country on there. Mm-hmm. So obviously, if you're in Missouri, you can see all of the members of the Missouri Freedom Caucus. If you're in Illinois, you can see who the members of the Illinois Freedom Caucus are.
And you can pray for them.
Yeah. You can also find me on Twitter. My handle is @AndyRoth, and I do most of my public stuff on there.
Let's get things going with that news roundup in about 2 minutes and 21 seconds right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. So so many ways to listen to News Talk STL. Enable our Alexa skill.
Hello.
Hey, Alexa.
Yes, I'm listening.
Play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
The Vic Forcelli Show. Here's the host of Wheel of Audio Clips, Vic Forcelli.
Thank you, Jim Osmond, very much. Thank you, everybody. Thanks to our studio audience for coming. I get sick of myself. I swear to God. I can only imagine somebody who listens to the show. I'm just sick of myself. Somebody had a song called Sick of Myself.
I touch myself? You talking about that one?
Only at night, Ken. Oh, you talking about songs? That was the Divinyls. Sorry. I thought you get into my personal life.
Vic Forcelli, weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
How'd you like to eliminate your expensive cable bill forever or get new satellite internet where cable can't go? Well, now you can have affordable satellite internet service for a few dollars a day. All you need is a mini satellite installed, and you can have unlimited internet connections wirelessly in your home or office. And no cable boxes means unlimited connections and no clutter. You can surf the internet or stream any of your favorite television services with no cable. And the best part is, satellite internet service costs only a few dollars a day for your entire home. Yes, fast internet to surf or stream television for a few bucks a day. Call now for free details and learn how to drop your expensive cable bill.
800-696-2871. 800-696-2871. 800-696-2871. That's 800-696-2871.
I heard the call to serve, so I answered. I earned a title and discovered my purpose. I found belonging, an unbreakable bond with my fellow Marines. We fought to overcome adversity together in defense of our nation and its people. I've lived a full life, rich with meaning. And even though I no longer wear the uniform, I am still a Marine. My service has come full circle. I will always look after those around me. I will always uplift and support my country and my community. Because that is the promise I made. That is what it means to be a Marine. Semper Fidelis. Always faithful, always Marine.
This news update brought to you by Anton's Plumbing and HVAC. Call Anton's at 314-338-3941 or visit them at antonshvac.com.
Hi, it's Dan Bongino here, and I'm proud to be on News Talk STL every weekday from 11 to 2. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Well, this is the state of our politics. A Missouri statewide official says his home was swatted last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're talking like 8 hours ago.
Ooh.
Yeah. Really bad. Also, while U.S. troops and vehicles and other installations are being attacked by Iranian-backed terrorist groups, the United States Secretary of Defense was in the ICU and didn't tell anybody, including his boss. This is insane.
And folks wonder why we're skeptical about the adults in the room.
Oh, my gosh. And then if the left does something awful, then the right should do it too, right? That's how it works. Is that how that works? Yeah, I've actually... I have a feeling this could stir up a little bit of controversy, but we'll talk about it here in a little bit. Anyway, it's 5:52 right now. Happy Monday to you. Got Stel Ponticus in the studio. My name's Mike Ferguson. Okay, get this. Secretary of Defense, not Secretary of State. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, we now know, was in the hospital for 4 days, including some time in the ICU at Walter Reed last week, at least 4 days. I actually haven't seen any reports say he's been released yet, so I don't think he's in the hospital still, but he might still be. So the Pentagon now confirms multiple reports that his second-in-command at the department, along with key congressional leaders, and even the president did not know until he'd been in the hospital 3 days that he was even in the hospital.
That is bizarre.
It's insane. Now, here's all we know is that Austin had what they're calling an elective surgery back on December 22nd, and then he was readmitted to the hospital on New Year's Day, saying there were some complications and some pain, and he went in at one point to the intensive care unit.
Now, they might put him in the intensive care unit because he's the Secretary of Defense, and you have to be extra careful. But the fact of the matter is, it wasn't until 3 days into his hospital stay that hardly anybody knew where he was. And we're talking the people who report to him and the people to whom he reports.
So was he thinking, and was his staff thinking, hey, it's the holidays. We're not going to tell anybody.
They said he was working from home.
Oh, man.
Mike Pence, somebody asked Mike Pence about it. He said this is a dereliction of duty.
It is.
And Pence is right.
Mm-hmm.
If he goes into the hospital, all you have to do is say, hey, Mr. President, hey, Mr. Secretary of State, hey, key congressional leaders, I'm having whatever this elective surgery is. I don't know. Could have been to remove a mole. I don't know. Could have been to have his, knee scoped because of that old football injury. I don't know. Could be anything. But I'm going to the hospital. Just a heads up. Staff, heads up. Didn't tell anybody.
You have to.
Yeah. Then he goes back into the hospital. He could have been a wisdom tooth taken out. I don't know.
My goodness.
The Secretary of Defense, and we've got American soldiers and installations being attacked around the world. And you didn't bother to say, I'm going in for a surgery, and then I'm back into surgery and I'm in the ICU? Oh, for God's sake. That's just unbelievable. Sleep well, everybody. Just saying. All right. In other adults in the room stuff, Republican and Democratic members of Congress, they have reached what's being called a top-line spending deal for 2024 to help avoid a potential government shutdown later this month. They keep teasing me with this government shutdown, but they never shut down the government.
Nope.
Stop teasing me. Do it. Anyway, Republican Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee was on Fox Report, and he told guest host Aisha Hasney that he does not support this deal, but he does feel they do have enough votes on it. But he says it just doesn't cut enough spending.
We just giving out the free money, and eventually that debt's going to come due. We run every 2 years, and we're looking to get through the 2-year cycle, and then we'll start over again, and we'll go home and tell our constituents, oh, we're going to cut this, we're going to make cuts, we're going to defund the UN, and we're never going to do any of that stuff because we don't have the guts.
He's right. It makes me mad, but it's kind of refreshing to hear somebody in Congress to say, yeah, this place is such a cesspit. We're just going to make promises and never deliver on them.
Tim's always been very upfront about calling people out.
Yeah.
And my question is, and maybe you know the answer to this, does this go back to McCarthy? Is this the deal?
This is a new deal.
I'm wondering if it goes back to the deal that McCarthy made, and it's, that he mentioned that it's a 2-year kind of thing. Yeah. That's why I'm wondering, I wonder if Kevin was part of this.
Speaker Mike Johnson says the agreement secures $16 billion in additional spending cuts from the previous agreement, is what he's arguing.
Okay.
So we'll see.
All right.
Okay, Missouri Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft posted on Twitter, or X, that his home was swatted last night. Nobody was hurt. I know that. We don't have any details other than that. I suspect Jay is very, very busy right now, but I did text him to see if I can get him on the program here. I doubt that I will, but wanted to check on him as well. We'll talk about this in a little more detail here in just a bit. 2 St. Louis City police officers were hurt in a crash at 20th and Olive on Sunday, so it'll be the west side of downtown. The crash caused the patrol car to flip over. Reports say the officers were responding to a call, had their lights and siren on, and collided with another car. Then that car went and hit a third vehicle. Officers were taken to the hospital. They had minor injuries. I don't know about the other drivers. That wasn't reported on. Some witnesses have actually said the police officers had their lights and siren on, went through a red light, did not slow down, and another vehicle went through a green light but did not stop for the police officers with the lights and sirens on. So going to be a weird investigation on all that. Okay, what else is going? Gas prices are back down again.
Yeah, although they went back up a few days ago. Remember, they were $2.50 something. Now they're back in the 270s. But anyway, overall, yes.
Yeah, overall they've gone they've gone down a little bit. The new average is $3.18 a gallon nationwide. I saw it here, and like you said, in the 270s or so. But then again, if you go to Costco, it's a lot cheaper than that, even as well. Okay, Blues are off today. They are on a 2-game winning streak. Team starts a four-game homestand, and that runs through mid-January, January 15th. Tomorrow's game against the Florida Panthers starts off that 4-game homestand.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
They have not, even their own witnesses that they brought forward, been able to find a nexus between any of the allegations of Hunter Biden and the president.
News, analysis, opinion.
This has gone beyond from being an Israel-only issue to really a global issue.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Israel expanding its assault on Gaza.
Many Palestinians say they're running out of places to go.
And NewsTalkSTL.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss as part of our lineup every week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. And in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
What if the music stopped? If the familiar voices were silenced? If there were no breaking news updates? What if your companion and connection to your community came with a monthly fee? Don't worry, we're free local radio with you wherever you go, celebrating 100 years and looking forward to the next 100. We are broadcasters. Text radio to 52886 and let Congress know you depend on your local TV and radio stations. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Another huge government funding bill in the works. Congressional leaders have agreed on a $1.6 trillion package to keep the government going beyond the middle of the month. The Congressional Freedom Caucus not happy with the blueprint, which is being applauded by President Biden. House Republicans moving ahead with efforts to impeach the top Biden border official.
Later this week, a House committee will hold a hearing related to impeachment allegations against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Republicans claim he has been derelict in his duty of managing the U.S.-Mexico border. Here at the White House, the chief spokesperson said President Biden has confidence in Mayorkas. Karine Jean-Pierre also dismissed the impeachment allegations as a political stunt. Greg Clugston, the White House.
Former Vice President Pence warning that the Biden administration's open border policies could result in Hamas-style terror attacks here in America. A weekend interview with Jerusalem news site allisrael.com. Pence says President Biden is putting the American people in danger of allowing foreign terrorists to enter the USA through the virtually unsecured southern border with Mexico. After touring some of the Israeli communities invaded by Hamas terrorists on October 7th, Pence says he found the carnage worse than in any conventional battlefield. He added, this was not the aftermath of war, it was the aftermath of evil. Cleanup, the order of the day across parts of New England, buried under more than a foot of snow from that weekend nor'easter. Add to that ice and high winds. Heavy rain expected tomorrow and Wednesday could unleash flooding. Meanwhile, out west, parts of the Sierra Nevada got clobbered by powerful winter storms over the weekend. Watching Wall Street, stock futures in the red so far this morning. The Dow futures down 160 points, S&P futures off 4 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The words you are about to hear are taken from letters sent in by members of the Trinity Debt Management Program.
Dear Trinity, today I'm making my final credit card payment.
Before I came to you, I was in a constant state of anxiety and panic, but now there is hope for my family's financial future.
Working with Trinity made me understand that I'm not alone.
You really do help people.
Your kindness will never be forgotten. Without Trinity's support, I would not have achieved my lifelong goal of becoming debt-free.
We saved a lot on interest and penalties, of course, but the reward was the gift of human kindness.
Trinity has carried me through a very difficult time in my life. You're amazing.
I used to feel so anxious and hopeless. Now I feel grace and peace.
God bless Trinity as you continue to help others become debt-free.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976. That's 1-800-990-6976.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Combo of rain, snow, and wind over the next couple of days. Our first round is this afternoon and this evening. A mix of rain and snow, maybe a little slush for the evening drive, but with a high of 41. I think that's more of an issue north and west of St. Louis. Tonight, we bounce back to all rain, and that continues through the morning rush tomorrow, a low of 37. Finally, as temperatures drop Tuesday afternoon, we switch to all snow. Final accumulations around the metro, 0 to 2 inches, with more to our northwest. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work. But there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9, right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Thank you for the opportunity to let me vent here.
Live and local.
Way to be, guys. 1019 all the way.
This is News Talk STL.
I am home.
Mike Ferguson.
I am a young, vibrant man.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I'm Batman.
Get up, get up. Can't you hear the alarm? Get up, get up.
We can't rebuild our economy and meet this climate crisis.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Hey, Gabe, did you know the Secretary of Defense was, I don't know, maybe is in the hospital last week?
I heard something about this, but apparently nobody else did.
Yeah. Did you know last week?
I found out recently.
He didn't call you to let you know.
No, he didn't let me know. I sent an email. I didn't get that out-of-office notification or anything.
See, let me try it again. Because what you're supposed to go is, no, I didn't know.
Oh, okay.
So did you know that the Secretary of Defense was in the hospital last week?
I did not know.
Neither did the president. For God's sake.
It's so crazy.
Oh, man. By the way, News Talk STL's social media. Check us out. Connect with us there. Make that your New Year's resolution, and you can create it, do it, and then check it off your resolutions box right now, especially on Facebook and Rumble. If you have not checked out Rumble, you got to check out Rumble. By the way, Dan Bongino's part owner of Rumble.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, so that's why you know it is safe for conservatives and libertarians to be on there. It's safe for everybody to be on there.
Yep.
But check out Rumble, and you can find us there, and Facebook, and Twitter, or X, and Instagram, and where else? I'm missing somewhere else.
You said Facebook.
I said
did you say YouTube?
No, I said YouTube. Yes.
Yeah.
Just look up.
We're still kind of on there.
Yeah, look up Mike. Look up Mike Ferguson in the morning. I think we're in there. Okay, so check us out there and like those, and you can watch us on all of those platforms as well, and get updates throughout the day as well. Okay, so get this: the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin. Now, he's the woke guy who's letting the U.S. Navy, run ad campaigns with drag queens.
Yep.
I mean, so this isn't somebody that we support politically.
No.
He goes in on December 22nd for what they're just describing as an elective surgery. So apparently a minor surgery.
All right.
I don't know. It could be anything from a wisdom tooth coming out to getting a skin tag. I don't know. Something.
Right.
Getting, who knows what it is.
Something on his knee, or maybe,
Yeah,
he's
never- you
getting
never
up there
know.
in years.
You never know.
And keep in mind, Gabe, they've been telling us for 3 years the adults are back in the room.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
I'm just reminding you.
Mhm.
So he has the procedure. He goes home the next day by itself. No big deal.
Sure.
But apparently nobody knew he did that.
Nobody
And
knew he was gone.
Yeah, even then, it's like, okay, yes, do I tell my boss that I'm going to go get my knee scoped? I probably would here. But otherwise, it's really not a big deal. But he's the Secretary of Defense, and we have military installations around the world being attacked by the Houthis and Hezbollah and other Iranian-backed terrorist groups. We've got military personnel off the coast near the Middle East because of what's happening with Israel and Hamas. And of course, we've got troops stationed all over the world I don't think anywhere on high alert at the moment, but we've got precarious situations everywhere. Well, he's in a lot of pain. And he goes back into the hospital on January 1st. He's admitted to the ICU.
Excuse me?
We now know he was in ICU.
Whoa. Okay. So
Now-
this might have been something bigger than just a
It
simple
could have
little
been. Now, it
outpatient
could
thing.
also be this is the United States Secretary of Defense, so we're going to put him in ICU just to give extra precautions.
Right. Yeah, I guess it could be that.
Was he at Walter Reed, by the way?
He was at Walter Reed, yes.
Okay.
So there were no key congressional leaders who were notified. His second in command was not notified. The president of the United States was not notified. The national security advisor was not notified. Nobody knew until he'd been there for 3 days that, hey, where's Lloyd?
Wait, 3 days?
3 days. And then originally there were some reports that say that he was working from home. He's capable. And then late Friday night, that the announcement got kind of dumped that, well, he was in the hospital and there was an ICU. And so media was scrambling all over the weekend, even through last night, to get the rest of the story.
Okay, so was he working from the ICU? I mean, is that the suggestion? He was working from the ICU, and that's why nobody noticed?
Nobody noticed because nobody told anybody.
Well, here's the thing. If I go missing from work and people don't know that I'm supposed to be off for 3 days,
Yeah.
somebody notices because
Yes.
stuff isn't getting done.
I
Somebody would
think
stop by
so.
the house, don't you think?
I would think so.
I would be getting a call on my cell phone.
Yeah.
Something would be happening. But you'd imagine that the Secretary of Defense would have a much larger profile
Yes.
job than me.
You would think so.
And people would notice when he doesn't show up at the office.
Right. And even if he does text back or something, the fact that he's in the hospital, in the ICU, that's something that maybe not you and I need to know, but it's something I would think the president needs to know.
And this is Walter Reed. It's not as
Yeah.
though they're
Not like he's at the
unfamiliar.
urgent care down the street.
Well, it's not as though they're unfamiliar.
He's over at TUAC. He's over there.
They had to know. It's like, oh, SecDef is in the ICU.
Yeah.
Does anybody know about this? I mean, if it was me, and I'm the admitting nurse or I'm somebody at this, it's like, does anybody know that SecDef is in the other room here?
And not to shift the blame at all, but wouldn't you think his secretary or someone
Yeah.
else in his
An
office
assistant
would
or
have sent out an
somebody.
email?
Right.
Just to let folks know, hey, by the way, he's not going to be in.
So-
FYI,
Yeah.
the meeting on Tuesday is canceled because SecDef is in ICU.
Yeah.
I'm not taking any further questions.
So Lloyd, yeah. So
Thanks,
Lloyd Austin,
KJP.
yeah. Lloyd Austin puts out a statement and basically says, "My fault. I should have communicated better, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." And we're thinking we have U.S. installations overseas under assault
Constantly.
by terrorist organizations.
We don't hear enough
Yeah.
about it, actually.
Man,
Given the volume. So in the midst of what essentially appears to be an international powder keg, because that's what we're sitting on,
Right.
between China and the Taiwan issue, the Middle Eastern upheaval, Eastern European upheaval. The entire world is ready to pop. It feels like we're pretty close to midnight here. So the SecDef just kind of goes off grid for a minute, and we're just supposed to say, oh, his bad. He forgot
Right.
to send the email. That's a little bit more than a simple office snafu.
exactly. So what comes of it? There's probably going to be more. I suspect that we're going to hear more in our information segments here this morning and throughout the day to figure out what's going on there.
I like the picture they chose for that story, by the way, on Newsmax. He just looks so nonplussed by the whole thing. that seems to be the correct attitude.
He's a pretty
reflection
even
there.
keel guy.
Sure. He's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
whatever. Okay.
I'm just out of the office.
Oh, man, I want to get to this situation with Jay Ashcroft here in a minute. But, guys, I tell you, when you need more coffee?
When
is when you can't get to the coffee.
You can't do the coffee.
No,
right?
so I went in to make my cup of coffee here right before this segment, and I went and we've got the thing where we've got a Keurig on one side, and I put my pod in there, and then we've got the carafe on the other side.
Right.
And I always get the coffee ready so we could have it before everybody else gets in here. And I went and pushed the wrong button, and so the carafe is now brewing. But that means I've got to wait all these minutes, and I don't have any coffee right now.
Yeah. It takes a little longer to do the whole 12-cup carafe than to do 1 cup
because
K-cup.
I need my coffee, and I was not coherent enough to hit the right button. So I'm just complaining and whining about this here.
Welcome to Monday.
Well, my coffee.
Yeah, I did. I was like, stupid coffee. Well, no, stupid coffee machine operator, because I did it. Anyway, all right, that's the end of my whining and crying here.
I doubt that. But
get this. We have heard a number of political types around the country, most of them Republican. There's been a couple of Democrats, but mostly Republicans have been dealing with swatting. Now, if you're not familiar with swatting, and Gabe, you're probably going to be able to describe this better than I am, somebody uses an untraceable internet phone line, calls in a horrible situation at some home address with the design to get basically the SWAT team to kick in the doors and go after you.
Yes.
Go after somebody there.
Yeah, the intention is to set up a situation where the police are going in expecting violence, expecting a standoff, so they come prepared, because of the description of the situation.
And some individuals have been swatted 6, 7, 8 times.
Yeah,
over the last years.
And part of the intent, I think the intent behind this is, the most nefarious aspect of it is that you are so surprised that something deadly can happen.
Right.
Because here's the thing: if I'm just sleeping at home and I hear somebody kicks down my door, I'm grabbing my firearm.
Right.
And here's the thing. Now I'm confronting the police who think they're there on a legitimate, basis. And it's 2 a.m. I'm barely conscious, but somebody is trying to break into my house.
Right.
So it's a very deadly situation. It can end in somebody getting killed. I think at least 1 or 2 swatting incidents has resulted in a death. Now, it wasn't anybody high profile, but that's the thing about swatting. It is, as far as I'm concerned, an attempt at killing somebody.
And it happened to Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft about 9 hours ago.
So crazy. That's crazy.
So he tweeted that out, saying that his home was swatted last night. He actually thanked law enforcement for handling everything very professionally. That's all we know. But what we're seeing now is essentially, I don't have the guts to go try to terrorize you in person, so I'm going to try to outsource that to law enforcement. And because of the way that some of these phones are done where you can't trace the calls, then there's really no way to know, or it's hard to know where that swatting effort came from. But I want to talk about this a little bit later on. This is the state of where we are at in our politics, to where this is my enemy, to the point where I am going to try to put them in a position to be hurt or killed, or their family. Jay's got small kids.
Yeah.
Multiple small kids. He's got a wife. And so that happened last night, according to Jay Ashcroft.
He's living in Jeff City, correct?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. Yep.
Yeah, this was the first iteration of the weaponization of law enforcement. This started I won't say a long time ago, but a while ago. This was the first instance that I encountered where law enforcement was being weaponized against people. Now, of course, their law enforcement is going in blind here. It's not as though it's a the government apparatus doing this, but this was a means by which your political opponents could or ideological opponents could come at you.
Yeah. Okay, so he tweeted a little bit before midnight, about 11 o'clock or so. He said, "My home was just swatted. My family and I are safe. I'm grateful to Jeff City law enforcement for the professionalism with which they handled the situation, and that's all we've got. That's all we know."
I hate this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it's just because there's almost no defense against it. That's part of the problem. That's why this is such an effective means of terrorizing someone, because dispatch has to take this seriously.
Well, and so do law enforcement, and until they can start vetting out, I mean, there may be some common sense to where the officers are like, this is Secretary of State, it's probably political, but it could be, this is political. There could be somebody trying to assassinate an elected official.
Right.
I mean, I'm trying to think of the political figures that I can't stand the most, I think, are bad people. Under no like Sam Page.
Sam Page.
Under under no circumstances should anybody ever even think about doing something like this. And if somebody tried to swat these people, you know what? They should go to jail.
Yes.
Like, not as in arrested and sitting there for a couple of days. They should go to jail for a long time to do that. I mean, this is just a sign of the de-evolution of where we are right now over our politics and stuff. All right, 314-912-1019. Still ahead here. Okay, so when the left decides to abuse their politics and abuse their positions, does that mean the right should do it as well?
Well, no.
Well, are you sure?
Well, not abuse.
You're right. But yeah, I mean,
I am very sure.
But now we've got some lawmakers on the right who are saying, "Hey, you want to abuse your position, do that? We're gonna do the exact same thing."
Oh boy!
And there's gonna be a lot of people who say, "Well, yeah, if they're gonna do it, then we're gonna do it." I say nobody should do it. All right, let's stir up the hornet's nest a little bit at 6:20 here on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Is that coffee ready yet?
Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I got an email which brought a smile. A woman named Mary wrote me, "We are purchasing a new roof from John Beal based on your recommendation." I thanked her then. I do it again now. Mary, I only endorse clients I believe in, and I've been a spokesman for John Beal for 10 years. It's all about trust. So if, like Mary, you need John Beal, trust me. Call 1-800-NEW-ROOF. 1-800-NEW-ROOF.
This is Everett Jones of Jones Air and Water Treatment. For the months of January and February, we're here to make your drinking water, cooking, iced tea, coffee, and other water-based beverages clean, crisp, and free of contaminants. Joey, what do you think of yours?
We use ours here at the station every day, and it's great. There's no cumbersome big bottles, no plastic waste, and it seems endless.
Call us now at 636-899-1040 and schedule your free analysis and let us get you on the way to higher quality water. You can be a filter or buy a filter. Find us on the web at joneswater.com.
Classic Kicks Country is streaming now. Hear all your new country favorites from the 90s.
I should have been a cowboy.
Streaming as it happened in the 90s. Classic Kicks.
Let's go, girls.
Download the Classic Kicks app from the App Store. Online at ClassicKicks.com.
I'll go back.
Or enable the Classic Kicks skill on Alexa.
I love this station.
90s New Country streaming now. This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Good morning, St. Louis. It's Ben Shapiro. I'll talk to you tonight at 11. But right now, back to the Mike Ferguson Show on the new conservative voice of St. Louis, 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Okay, around the room here quick, guys. Do we agree that abusing the political process to take a candidate you don't like off the ballot is bad?
That's very bad.
Definitely.
Okay. What if our side does it?
It's still bad.
Mm-hmm.
We
still
sure?
bad.
Okay.
Yes, I agree with Gabe.
Because that's what we're seeing right now in Missouri here. I'll explain here in just a second. I just want to point out that I do have my coffee now.
Yay!
That's
important.
Yeah.
Yay, you.
You must have your daily dose of white supremacy.
Oh, because remember that was the story. Because coffee is white supremacy, according to.
Yeah.
You know what else is white supremacy?
What's that?
And we'll talk about this at 6:50.
Mm-hmm.
Encouraging fat people to get thinner and
yes,
healthier.
I heard that. Yes. Yeah. Go if you go to the gym, you're liable to become right wing. That's what one story read.
There was a whole conference convention on that this weekend. I've got the details on it.
Whoa.
By the way, conservative media exposed the plagiarism that led to Claudine Gay's resignation as president of Harvard University. That was 100% conservative media that did that.
Yes.
It pushed and forced mainstream media to acknowledge it, even though Harvard barely acknowledges that anything happened at all. Seriously. Regarding the plagiarism and everything else. But is this whole scandal a symptom of something else? I mean, is it connected to the DEI efforts that we're seeing that's all over universities across the country? And Mike Gonzalez from Heritage Foundation going to be with us at 6:35. It's been a little while since we've talked to Mike.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to be fun. All right. U.S. Supreme Court has agreed to take up the case about Donald Trump being off the ballot in Colorado, according to their Colorado Supreme Court. And then, of course, this is going to have an effect on what's happening in Maine. Other states, there are efforts to throw Trump off the ballot in particular.
Right.
Even some left-wing, Democrats in other states where somebody's like, hey, let's do this. And there are plenty of Democrats, to be completely fair, who are going, that's really stupid. They may hate Donald Trump. They think he's unfit to be the president or whatever the case is. But they're like, yeah, but you don't keep somebody off the ballot just because you don't like them.
Right. It's a step too far. You can't do it this way.
Okay, so is it okay then if conservatives respond and try to do that to Joe Biden?
Now, the devil's advocate view says make the left live by their own rules.
Right.
That's the devil's advocate. That's as close as you can get to a legitimate argument in my mind.
Right. So here's what we've got: is there have been two bills filed in the state Senate in Missouri, one by Rick Bratton, one by Bill Eigel, that are trying to disqualify and keep Joe Biden off the ballot in Missouri. And essentially Bill Eigel's bill says because he has not secured the southern border, he's given aid and comfort to our enemies because he hasn't secured the border.
Okay.
Rick Bratton's bill, which I read the summary of over the weekend, says that anybody who has been the target of an impeachment inquiry is ineligible to be president.
Wow.
Or ineligible to be on the ballot.
On the ballot. Wow.
So now both of these guys know very well that these bills aren't going anywhere.
So
they're not going to be
They
passed.
themselves are kind of trolling with this bill.
A little bit, but they've actually taken the step to file the legislation to say, okay, you want to keep our guy, meaning a Republican candidate. I know Bill Eigel's supporting Donald Trump, but I don't know what Rick Bratton's doing. So you want to keep a Republican off the ballot in your state, then we're going to retaliate, which is what this is. We're going to retaliate and try to keep your Democratic candidate off the ballot as well. Okay, here's my opinion, and agree with me or disagree with me. Let me know on social media. Call me at 314-912-1019. I think this is a big mistake by the Republicans to do this. And Bill Eigel's a friend. I've known him for years. I don't know. I've talked to Rick Bratton a few times. I don't really know him. But I think this is a bad mistake, terrible look. I know it fires up a lot of the voter base who are basically like, yeah, do whatever it takes. And like you said, if they do it, then they get the consequences of the what they said.
Right.
Here's my argument. We're supposed to be better. We're supposed to say we value what the Constitution says. We are supposed to value the process and the order that comes with it. And we're going to win based on our ideas. So to say, hey, you want to get in the gutter? Then we're going to get in the gutter because if it's okay for you, it's okay for us. I think our approach should be, no, it's not okay for anybody. And if they really wanted to make a statement, what they should do is be filing legislation to clarify that nobody is removed from the ballot except for these extreme cases, treason, et cetera, that sort of thing.
Yeah, the idea of basically saying, since we believe in the rule of law, that the law needs to be clear and we need to all abide by it every single time. That's kind of the conservative ideal, isn't it?
Right.
So by kind of skirting the ideal a little bit, we discredit our side's position.
Right.
Even if you might be able to make the argument that we're just trying to force the left to see the error of their ways. That's not going to happen.
No, you do that by winning in other areas. Go on media, debate them, whatever the case is. If it happens in your state, then you file your legislation, your lawsuits. I mean, in one state, the Colorado Republican Party said, you keep him off the primary ballot, we'll simply go to a caucus.
Right.
And we're going to do it anyway. Now, Trump may or may not win. Who knows? They haven't had their primary date or anything like that yet. But the bottom line is that the right, many of the independents and even some on the left were rightly disgusted by the efforts to remove somebody off the ballot just because that's a political opponent. And that's what we're talking about. Colorado, Maine, this isn't seriously about insurrections or anything like that. This is because they hate Donald Trump.
Now, a word on the whole effort to begin with. As I understand it, in Colorado, because this decision was made, but they voluntarily put a stay,
correct, on
that effort, and according to their calendar, their ballots have to be finalized yesterday.
Yeah, but
or something like that.
But the stay ended the day before of that.
Okay.
It was a temporary stay for it to be appealed. So the U.S. Supreme Court says they are going to take it up, because a couple of weeks ago, we had Mike O'Neill from the Landmark Legal Foundation on. And he said there's no way the Supreme Court doesn't take this. They have to.
Well, sure. Yeah.
And he was right.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we're going to talk to Mike in the 7 o'clock hour as well to get the update. So it looks like if they're printing the ballots now, one way or the other, they may have to be reprinting them.
Okay, well, and I guess that's the question that I have is this moot because they printed the ballots and according to state law the ballots are done, or is there some means by which they have to go through the effort
they could be ordered to go through the effort again. Yeah,
all right.
And I can't imagine that the U.S. Supreme Court is going to permit them to keep a bona fide candidate off the ballot.
No, they're not.
Republican, Democrat, otherwise. My biggest problem is when I saw and listen, I like and respect both of these very conservative state senators. But if we're angry because they're abusing the process and abusing their offices, let's not respond by abusing the process and abusing the offices just because it goes after a terrible president.
Yeah, the point isn't really being made by doing this. I mean, and that's like I said in my whole devil's argument, devil's advocate setup there. I don't think it does what they think it does.
No, it doesn't. I mean, it makes it. I get that it makes a point, but you make a point.
You can do that rhetorically.
You can do that rhetorically. You can do that with a press release. You can do that with a press conference. You can do that by going on radio. You can do that in a lot of different ways. You can make it on social media, which is what Jay Ashcroft did when he denounced what Colorado and Maine has done. And so you can do that in a lot of other ways, but what I wish that we would see less of is the people on our side willing to say, okay, you want to get in the gutter to do that? I'm going to get down there and get in the gutter as well, instead of saying, I'm going to punch down at you and not get in the gutter.
I think there's a whole segment of the electorate, just to give a little different perspective here. I think there's a segment that's saying, that's what we've done all these years, is given in to them, and we never fight back. We're the Washington Generals playing the Harlem Globetrotters, and we just sit back and go, okay, that's fine. We'll just move on to something else, when actually we should be showing backbone and fighting back. So I'm just saying that I think there's a portion of the electorate that's saying, hey, let's fight back and let's play the game the way they want to play it. Okay, we can do that too.
I think there's a large section of people who are doing that, who are basically going to say, if you violate the Constitution, you violate the law, you violate ethics, then it's okay for us to do the same thing.
But I don't know if this is violating the Constitution, though. I understand what you're saying.
Sure it is.
To try to get somebody off the ballot. Well, yes, the Supreme Court has to step in to take care of it. But I'm just saying that I think there's a segment of the electorate that's saying, all right, we're going to fight back on the same plane that you are.
That you're exactly right, Stel, that there is a segment that's saying we need to fight back. I think the problem is our fight back is often so skewed. I've kind of made this analogy before that, we're fighting Marquis of Queensberry boxing rules, and the Democrats have been fighting not only MMA style but also cheating. you know what I mean? Yeah. So the thing is, we've skipped the step of simply fighting MMA along with them, and we've gone straight to cheating, and that's the problem. I think it's one thing to say, hey, they did a double leg takedown. That's an MMA rule. Right. That's not a boxing rule. It's like, hey, maybe we should learn how to do that. That's where we should go, as opposed to, hey, they've got weights in their gloves. I'm going to come in with brass knuckles. We can't go that far with it. And people, I think, are so content with, well, we're fighting back, that it's skewing what we should be doing.
I'm just impressed you know the names of the maneuvers.
Oh gosh. Hey, MMA is my jam, actually. I studied martial arts for a while. I love that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Got some thoughts on it? Let me know. 314-912-1019. Just ahead, is diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, is that a factor in what we saw with Claudine Gay's resignation at Harvard? Because, listen, the more we look into this, honestly, Gabe, I think the less it is necessarily just about Claudine Gay.
Oh, of course.
And more about the corporate culture of left-wing universities and colleges all over the country. Mike Gonzalez from the Heritage Foundation is all over this, and we're going to talk to him right around 6:35 on 119-94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. is alive and well in America.
Thanks for taking my call.
Right here.
My point about the governor there, it is absolutely about power.
I read this, I almost fell out of my chair.
News Talk STL.
This thing is just absolutely dripping with irony.
News, analysis, opinion. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Combo of rain, snow, and wind over the next couple of days. Our first round is this afternoon and this evening. A mix of rain and snow, maybe a little slush for the evening drive, but with a high of 41. I think that's more of an issue north and west of St. Louis. Tonight, we bounce back to all rain, and that continues through the morning rush tomorrow, a low of 37. Finally, as temperatures drop Tuesday afternoon, we switch to all snow. Final accumulations around the metro, 0 to 2 inches, with more to our northwest. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Getting a new floor for your home can be intimidating and a little scary, but that's not the case when you go to Michaels Flooring Outlet. Katie here, and my mom and dad used Michaels, and they had a great experience. They've been a locally owned and operated family business for more than 30 years. You want variety? Michaels has carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, and many other options. Shop in-store at one of their 3 locations in Creve Coeur, Dardine Prairie, or St. Peters. Check out everything that Michaels has to offer at igotfloored.com.
Is your family prepared for the financial burden of losing a loved one?
Are you aware of the cost of a funeral?
Benjamin Schaefer with Senior Memorial could help you qualify for lifetime permanent final expense insurance coverage with no medical exam required.
Just answer a few health questions, and once accepted, your rates never increase.
Do you have diabetes? High blood pressure?
Have you had a heart attack? A stroke?
No problem.
Benjamin Schaefer with Senior Memorial can help protect your legacy.
Call or text 314-866-8886. That's 314-866-8886.
To learn more about permanent lifetime final expense insurance coverage.
Benjamin Schaefer with Senior Memorial could help you qualify for immediate coverage by answering just a few health questions.
Call or text 314-866-8886 or learn more at memorialplans.com. That's memorialplans.com.
Policies underwritten by Senior Life Insurance Company, not available in all states.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
More names, more allegations dropping in the Epstein documents. Where does it all end? And what's the latest?
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
I got my first real 6-string. Bought it at the 5 and dime.
Hey everybody, it's Rob Carter. Join me on Sunday nights as I challenge our politicians. I expose the political press, and I analyze pop culture. It's the Rob Carter Show on Sunday nights from 6 to 8 p.m. Now let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Jimmy quit and Jody got married. Should've known we never get far.
What's the bigger picture from the Claudine Gay plagiarism scandal, which, by the way, not everybody agrees that it's a scandal. Harvard basically is like, nothing to see here. This was just we're rearranging the desks.
No big.
A scandal, by the way, that Harvard doesn't want to admit. Is that because there may be a much bigger picture than just that? Than just her sloppy work and plagiarism. Yeah, it looks like there could be a lot more to it than that. And it could be a whole cultural aspect of this related to the DEI initiatives that have captured higher education around the country. By the way, is wanting to be thinner and healthier a horrible symptom of racism and colonialism?
That's racist!
Oh, God. Of course it is.
Yes.
Just ask the activist who hosted a convention for overweight people this weekend. You read that again. Just ask the activist who hosted a convention for overweight people this weekend.
Ooh, that's heavy.
Oh, God. I have another cup of my coffee.
Well done, still.
I'll
Hey,
explain at 6:50.
Be sure to tip your waitress.
Jeez. Okay. This situation at Harvard, of course, Harvard didn't even want to touch the plagiarism aspect of this. When Claudine Gay wrote her resignation letter, there was an awful lot of I and me and my and mine in there, but no reference to anti-Semitism, no reference to plagiarism, no reference to mea culpa of my mistakes. It was, I'm doing this for the university and everything's good and great. Of course, she's retaining her actual faculty job, tenured and, $900 and some odd $1,000 a year.
Oof.
But is the fact that she was in that position and is protected by the tenure and everything that's happening around the country, because this isn't just about Claudine Gay, okay? Harvard is not what it used to be. We all know that.
Right.
The Ivy League is not what it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
The university system is not what it used to be, is part of what is tearing that apart, the DEI efforts around the country. Mike Gonzalez is with the Heritage Foundation. Mike, it's been a while since you've been on the show. It's good to talk to you again. Really appreciate you being on the show. A lot of people would say, okay, you look at Claudine Gay, and of course we're saying, look at the plagiarism, look at the sloppy work, and then also look
that congressional testimony.
Right, look at that congressional testimony where she just couldn't bring herself to say calling for genocide is something that they don't approve of on campus. And you're pointing out that there's a bigger picture, the cultural rot of higher education and the DEI aspect of that. Connect those dots for me.
Yeah, right. So as you yourselves talked about how Harvard is no longer what it used to be, the Ivies are no longer what they used to be, college is no longer what it used to be. All of that has to do with the takeover of all those institutions and of all the cultural institutions by a kind of cultural Marxist left that sees everything as part of a dynamic between the oppressed and the oppressor. And that is ultimately what brought Claudine Gay down. Claudine Gay was, many people say, well, she was appointed because she ticked the right boxes. She was black and she was a woman. Claudine Gay was appointed because she was ideologically correct. She wanted to make Harvard DEI University, DEIU. She was the person who established Harvard's first DEI office. She got rid of other professors, including a couple of very good African-American professors who disagreed that there was bias, racial bias in police use of lethal force, including Roland Fryer, who is a very good top-notch professor. She got rid of him. And ultimately, Claudine Gay had to go because of her beliefs. People did not go after her, as she said, because they had any racial animus against her. That piece in the New York Times was ridiculous. It was her views. It was her views that prevented her at the congressional testimony on December 5th from giving the moral answer, which is, of course, calling for genocide violates Harvard standards.
Good morning, Mike. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So going back to that congressional testimony, those three college presidents, they all kind of came out of this slightly differently. You had UPenn's president, who was ousted very quickly. Yeah, I believe she resigned as opposed to was removed. But the Claudine Gay situation was a little bit different, where there was a really big circling of the wagons. And then, of course, MIT's president has we haven't heard anything about that whole situation. Where do you think the Ivies stand right now, particularly those three, in terms of when their comeuppance might be coming?
Well, I mean, they've all behaved differently, right? I think I look at the Ivies very closely. I went to Columbia Business School myself. I think of all of them, Martha, I forget her name now, at Cornell has been the best, or the least bad. Liz McGill was at Penn was the worst, and Claudine Gay was pretty bad. But overall, the Ivies and all of higher ed has to change. We can no longer have society as a whole. By the way, since 2020, all of the leaders of our cultural institutions have accepted the fallacy that America is systemically racist. They said that that we're an oppressive society, which is ridiculous. This is the most ridiculous thing one has ever heard. I have lived in 7 countries, at least a year, all over the place: Latin America, Asia, Europe. America, it's still, even 3 years after Biden being in place, it's still the freest place on earth. We're a completely free society. To call America oppressive or systemically racist, I mean, if that were the case, why are people streaming through the border? Why do they want to come to this awful place? So I think that colleges and all our, Hollywood, libraries, museums, they have to stop trying to decolonize themselves. they should not see themselves as political institutions whose job it is to systematically overhaul society. They have other tasks. In the case of universities, it's truth discovery, it's education. In the case of museums, is to show displays of history. In the case of newspapers, is to give the truth and the facts as journalists are supposed to do. We have to go back to not to be Aristotelian about it, to the essence of what is each institution is in place to do, and it's not to dismantle society. I think the most ironic thing, including Gay's piece in the New York Times, she wrote an op-ed column in the New York Times the day after she was fired, because I think she was fired. She said that her opponents want to undermine institutions, which is an incredible charge to make for a cadre of professors whose job, they see their jobs as undermining society. No, Americans just want to go back to what we had 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Stop this nonsense.
We're visiting with Mike Gonzalez from the Heritage Foundation, and I want to get to how do we get them to stop the nonsense here in just a minute. But Mike, there's a lot of people who are listening, and they're going to say, okay, my kids are already out of college. I've already got my degree, or college isn't what we need. We're going to do trades or whatever. My kid's not going to go to Harvard. My kid's not going to go to wherever. So I'm so glad that my kids aren't going to get that kind of indoctrination. I don't have to worry about it. How does this affect everybody else to the point where we should all be concerned about what Harvard and MIT and Penn and Cornell and all of the other, thousands and thousands of universities that have bought into this? Why does it affect all of us?
I travel the country extensively. Since 2020, when Americans began to fight back, I have been going to steadily about 20 to 30 cities a year in the United States. I travel overseas as well. And it happens to me very often, whether I'm in Aurora, Nebraska, or in some place in Utah, that people will come to me and say, "How could this be happening here? How could a school district teach DEI and CRT when we're the reddest county in the country?" And I say, "Well, you can't not claim to be the reddest county in the country, because I was just someplace else 2 weeks ago and they told me the same thing." The point I'm making is this has entered everywhere. Even if you live in a ruby red county, your school district probably transmits CRT, probably is oriented around the principles of critical race theory or diversity, equity, and inclusion, which are perfectly good words, by the way. Their meaning has been twisted, has been corrupted. So that is because the schools of education where our teachers need to go in order to be accredited, our schools of education have become indoctrination camps. And because the left has been able to take over school districts everywhere. And we don't know when we go vote for members of a school district, we don't know who they are. What I do is I go to the union table and I say, "Hey, I'm really uninformed. Can you tell me who to vote for? Who are the bad people?" And then I do the opposite of what you tell me. But most Americans, when they go in the booth, we're pretty well acquainted with who the presidential candidates are, senators, members of the House. But we don't know that the teachers' unions have taken over the school districts. So we have to become more and more aware of that, and I think we are.
Mike, I think with that increased awareness, there's going to start becoming some pressure against particularly the universities. I think the university bubble is one that's gonna have to burst. I've been predicting it's bursting coming soon, just because people are, at least on the economic front, starting to realize that it's not worth the debt, the jobs that they can potentially get outside this. So the degrees aren't worth what they used to be. I'm just wondering, what do you think? Where do we land? What happens after the current system sort of collapses, whether in slow motion or fast motion? What does it collapse into?
The president of the Heritage Foundation, Kevin Roberts, has something that he says all the time, and with which I completely agree. We're going to have to figure out which institutions we're going to keep and reform, and which institutions we have to let go of. I think universities have to be fought over. And I want to go a step further and say the Ivies have to be fought over. We have to reform the Ivies. They're too important It's too symbolic in American society for us to just say, forget Yale, forget Cornell. We're going to have to create new ones. No, I think we have to, and this is why I'm so happy that what is happening, because I think we have now momentum. People who realize there's a need for reform. There's a need to go back to normalcy. What we want to do is go back to normalcy, stop the racial and sexual nonsense. We have been in a trance since the riots of 2020. We have to stop all that.
All right, Mike Gonzalez from the Heritage Foundation. Really appreciate the insight. By the way, Mike's one of his most recent articles that you can find at heritage.org. It's not just the Ivies. Public universities must answer for their moral rot, too. That was written recently. And if you're on Rumble, I just posted that link there as well. So, Mike, appreciate you being on. People want to connect with you. Social media, what's the way to get in contact directly?
Well, BLM, my last book, BLM, The Making of a New Marxist Revolution, continues to sell well, and I think that is a good book. And I now have a new book coming out, Next Gen Marxism, What It Is and How to Combat It, with Catherine Gorka. But you can just go to heritage.org. You can look me up on Twitter, Gundisalvus, Gundisaldus. I'm very prolific there.
All right, and Mike, we'll have you back on and talk about the book once the publication date's a little bit closer.
Thank you, March 12th.
All right, great, fantastic. We'll talk to you again soon, Mike. All right, Mike Gonzalez from the Heritage Foundation.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, and once again, you can find that link to that article. I just put it up on Rumble a few minutes ago. All right, just ahead here, if you say to somebody, hey, you're pushing 4 bills here, man, 3 bills here, man, maybe you ought to get in shape. That's colonialism.
Colonialism.
That's
too.
Racism.
Oh my gosh.
The they them told me so at the convention.
We have to decolonize health.
This actually happened this weekend.
Here we go.
Now, I'm not about to make fun of people who are overweight because I myself need to lose about 15 pounds. You'll note that a couple weeks ago I said I need to lose 20 pounds.
Hey.
I need to lose about 15 pounds.
Nice. Well done, sir.
But it's not because of racism. I'll explain. Right around 6, what do you think, 6:52 here still?
Yeah, I think so.
6:52 on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Ain't no use in complaining when you got a job to do. Spend my evenings down at the drive-in, and I spend them next to you, yeah. Standing on your mama's porch, you told me that you wait forever. Oh, when you held my hand, I knew that it was now or never. Those were the best days of my life.
When you've got something to say, be heard loud and clear.
If they'll just do what they were voted in to do.
This party needs to get a backbone. They need to get some spine.
Join the conversation. St. Louis's place to talk.
The Democrats and the Republicans can give us all the lip service they want, but what they need to do is take action today.
101.9 and 94.1.
You have to take a stand sometimes.
This is News Talk STL. News, analysis, and opinion.
Seavers JCB has the JCB AG loader you need for maximum efficiency and versatility around the farm. JCB's TM series of articulated telescopic loaders are powerful, rugged, and engineered to deliver maximum productivity in all of your material handling applications. Take advantage of special year-end financing offers and tax breaks that may entitle you to additional savings. Stop in to Seavers Equipment and check out their full line of industry-leading JCB agriculture equipment or contact them at seaversjcb.com.
Suck it up.
It's not a big deal.
Snap out.
Just get over it.
We've all heard it. But if you're experiencing extreme stress, it's not just in your head. It can affect your entire body because toxic stress can hurt us physically without us even knowing it. If you've lost a job, worry about your next meal, or have trouble making it through the day, if you're feeling the effects of stress, we can help. Text stress to 211-211 to find a solution.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Dan Bongino here. Keep it on News Talk STL because my show starts at 11 a.m. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Standing in the rain with his head hung low. Couldn't get a ticket. It was a sold-out show.
All right, we know most everything is a political and a cultural battle right now. I mean, case in point, look what that conversation with Mike Gonzalez just a minute ago.
I love his phrase of DEIU.
Yeah. and by the way, I've got a couple of Mike's books. They are very, very user-friendly. These are not written for like the academic class. This takes really smart stuff and makes it very easily readable and digestible. Mike's prolific when it comes to writing. And so when he said he's got another book coming out, I'm like, oh, okay, Mike, you're coming back on the show. His book about BLM, solid. I mean, I've got that book. It's really, really, really solid. I actually told him, when was he on? It's been like a year since Mike's been on the show. And I was like, dang it, Mike. I said, every time you write a book, it costs me $28 or $25 because I always buy his books. But they're worth every penny of it. By the way, the U.S. Supreme Court takes up the case, is considering the lawsuit over Donald Trump's place on the ballot in Colorado in particular, but that's going to affect every other state. We've got the update from Landmark Legal Foundation in Washington, D.C. at 7:05. Okay, I saw this on my Twitter. I know I'm still calling it Twitter feed, but I saw this on my Twitter feed just the other day, or actually last night. So over the weekend, ending last night, there was I'm not making this up, FatCon in Seattle.
FatCon.
That's their word. I mean, you look at their website, that's what they're calling it.
Right. So I would go to a Comic-Con.
Right.
But they're going to the FatCon.
FatCon.
Okay.
Okay, now first let me say something right here. Okay. Two of the three of us could probably do a few extra sit-ups, right? I mean,
I'm carrying around a little extra.
You're in shape better than, I mean, Estelle, we agree he's in better shape than that.
Most definitely.
I need to lose about 15, 16 more pounds. I've just put on some weight that I don't like. So this is not about people being overweight.
I just want to make sure when you lose yours, I don't find it.
Okay. Yes. I will try to hide it as best I can.
Okay.
And so this is not what this is about. And I'm not even, if they just had a convention that said this is for people who are overweight, and this is where you can come in and not get made fun of, and here's things to your interest and that sort of thing. I'm like, okay, I wouldn't even notice it. I wouldn't even put it on the show. I have no interest in making fun of anything like that. But here's the thing. Here's how ridiculous that this thing got. It was called the event, 2024 FatCon. Says the mission is to improve the lives of fat humans, capital F, capital H, through art, health, public policy, and community outreach by improving visibility and uplifting the voices of people of size, not just people of color, people of size.
Point of concern, sir. They don't need to improve their visibility.
I was thinking it, but I didn't. Okay.
We see you coming.
It says we don't seek acceptance; we seek fat liberation.
Liberation. So they are oppressed.
Right. Yes, they are oppressed, and so. The activist in a video says, we will be celebrating fat liberation, body acceptance, and the power of being in fat community. Okay, listen, I can disagree with that. I think that being unhealthy is a bad thing. But I have, listen, if you're saying I'm looking for people who go through the same things I go through in life, okay, great, good for you. That's what these conventions are for. But get this, there was a bunch of weird sexual stuff, and there was like a heavy LGBT presence on it. And again, you know what? These are adults. They can go do whatever they want. I don't care. A lot of they, them, zers, whatever the case is. But get this, almost all of the events listed on their website, and I was looking at it, they had trigger warnings for everything. This mentions exercise. I'm not kidding.
Exercise is triggering.
Yes. This mentions fat phobia. By the way, nobody's afraid of people who are overweight.
Unless we're wrestling.
Greco-Roman.
This trigger warning, this mentions diet culture. Their words. So get this. Some activists actually are arguing that efforts to combat obesity, because remember, there were public service announcements and every, gym class in school, everything was trying to prevent young people from getting into a situation where they're obese, because we know that there are things like hypertension, diabetes.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go on and on and on. They're just medical facts. But they say that the efforts to combat obesity are rooted in, and I'm quoting, colonialism, racism, queer and transphobia. So now just the effort to say, man, dude, you should trim down a little bit, maybe eat the salad instead of the buffalo wings, is now rooted in transphobia and racism and colonialism or something like that.
Well, here's a problem. A lot of these flat influencers are now dead.
Yeah, that's very true.
Seriously, 33, 39, 40, they're gone.
Yeah. Damn colonialism.
Yeah.
This week on News Talk STL.
They have not, even their own witnesses that they brought forward, been able to find a nexus between any of the allegations of Hunter Biden and the president.
We have a significantly bigger problem. Joe Biden on day one made border policy the way it is.
If Joe Biden stays on the ticket, it could be the very best night for Republicans.
News, analysis, and opinion.
We are in a stronger position in the House this time than the last two cycles when we won.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hi, I'm Jen Wallner.
And I'm Rodney Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Rodney, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission rate?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
When's the best time to sell your home?
Right now. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. These pills work for men and women to improve their sexual performance. And now for the price of 2 or 3 pills, you can get nearly 100. There's no need to pay expensive prices for Viagra or Cialis. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Change your life for the better and have fun. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
800-631-2030. 800-631-2030. 800-631-2030. That's 800-631-2030.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Pursuing his latest shuttle diplomacy mission in the Mideast, Secretary of State Blinken is in the United Arab Emirates. He'll travel to Saudi Arabia next and is due back in Israel tonight, hoping to keep the Israel-Hamas war from expanding into a wider regional conflict. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin remains in the hospital amid controversy over why the Pentagon kept his hospital stay under wraps for days, not telling high-ranking Biden administration officials or Congress. Congressional leaders have agreed on a big government funding bill that could avert a partial government shutdown.
In a letter to colleagues, Speaker Mike Johnson revealed that the deal would set the federal government's discretionary spending at a maximum level of $1.59 trillion. The Speaker noted that the figure would include $886 billion for defense and $704 billion for non-defense spending. According to Democrat leaders, the final top line would also include an additional $69 billion in non-defense discretionary spending, bringing the total to nearly $1.6 trillion. Edwin Mora, Washington.
The first American lunar lander in more than a half century is on its way to the moon. The privately owned lander sent aloft early today from Cape Canaveral, hitching a ride on a United Launch Alliance rocket.
2 good SRBs, hitting peak pressure on the SRBs. Everything looking good.
Play-by-play courtesy of NASA. That lander is due on the surface of the moon by late next month. Federal investigators will be examining the piece of a jetliner that broke off while the plane was in flight over Oregon late last week, prompting an emergency landing in Portland, and no one was hurt. Watching Wall Street, the Dow futures down 159 points. NASDAQ futures 4 points higher. More on these stories at townhall.com. The words you are about to hear are taken from letters sent in by members of the Trinity Debt Management Program.
Dear Trinity, today I'm making my final credit card payment.
Before I came to you, I was in a constant state of anxiety and panic, but now there is hope for my family's financial future.
Working with Trinity made me understand that I'm not alone.
You really do help people.
Your kindness will never be forgotten. Without Trinity's support, I would not have achieved my lifelong goal of becoming debt-free.
We saved a lot on interest and penalties, of course, but the reward was the gift of human kindness.
Trinity has carried me through a very difficult time in my life. You're amazing.
I used to feel so anxious and hopeless. Now I feel grace and peace.
God bless Trinity as you continue to help others become debt-free.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976. That's 1-800-990-6976.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Combo of rain, snow, and wind over the next couple of days. Our first round is this afternoon and this evening. A mix of rain and snow, maybe a little slush for the evening drive, but with a high of 41. I think that's more of an issue north and west of St. Louis. Tonight, we bounce back to all rain, and that continues through the morning rush tomorrow, a low of 37. Finally, as temperatures drop Tuesday afternoon, we switch to all snow. Final accumulations around the metro, 0 to 2 inches, with more to our northwest. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-432-8150. 800-432-8150. 800-432-8150. That's 800-432-8150.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. Mike Ferguson.
You play ball like a girl!
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I triple dog dare you!
Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice, drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
All right, the U.S. Supreme Court is going to at least hear the debate over whether Colorado and, frankly, other states can prevent Donald Trump from being on the primary ballot. We're going to get the details of that just ahead. By the way, News Talk STL podcast, I haven't mentioned this in a while. We've got our on-demand listing for all of our programs here, by the way, which we start at 5:30 in the morning, and we are live and local right now up until 8 o'clock, other than Dan Bongino in the middle of the day. And by the way, that schedule is going to change and expand.
Okay.
Soon.
All right.
Hopefully we can announce that this week.
More live and local.
More. Yes, absolutely. So in a day when they're saying local radio can't survive, we're actually growing the local part of radio. But that announcement's going to come, I don't know when, but hopefully soon. I would love to be able to do that here on the show here.
Suck it, radio haters.
That's right. Okay, so once the Colorado Supreme Court made the ruling that Donald Trump was ineligible to be on the ballot because of insurrectioning.
He did an insurrection.
He did an insurrection. Then the U.S. Supreme Court was put under pressure to hear the case and make a decision. A couple weeks ago, Mike O'Neill from the Landmark Legal Foundation told us, he said, I don't see how the Supreme Court can avoid taking this case. They're going to take it.
Yeah.
And as usual, he was right.
He was right.
And he joins us right now. So let's get the update. Mike, appreciate you being back on the program. And you called that one. So the Supreme Court is going to hear the case. So let me start with the basic legal aspects of this. Does this mean that they are promising to make a ruling one way or the other on the Colorado situation, or does it just mean they're going to hear it and they could make a ruling, or is there anything else they could do?
Okay, good morning, guys. They're going to make a ruling. I mean, the oral arguments are scheduled for February 8th, which is on an incredibly expedited process for hearing this. And as I believe I said this too the last time I was here, the court can move quickly when it needs to, a la Bush versus Gore in 2000. So the court's going to have oral arguments on February 8th. I presume, and again, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I'm going to make a prediction on this as well, is they will have a decision by Super Tuesday, by early March. If they're going to have oral arguments, if briefing has to be completed by the beginning of February and oral arguments are on February 8th, they're going to have a decision on whether the Colorado decision stands. Again, whether they're going to overturn the Colorado decision or whether they're going to uphold the Colorado decision, presumably by early March, before the primaries get going in real effect. So I would assume before March 4th, March 5th, Super Tuesday, they would have a decision one way or the other.
Good morning, Mike. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So I think most people are expecting that the Supreme Court is going to strike this down. They're going to, set a precedent there. But how important is the vote count? I mean, I would think this should be a 9-0.
Right. It's very important. I think you have this movement now, especially from the left, that's coming out that's trying to disqualify the court, that's trying to remove any of their credibility. And you need the court to speak with one voice in this. This is again, as I think I've said before, this is a political decision. This is the Colorado Supreme Court essentially disenfranchised the voters of Colorado, and the Maine Secretary of State did essentially the same thing, and it's spreading, and they need to stop it now. They need a definitive ruling. You're talking 7-2, 8-1, 9-0. Presumably, you could even have a tight ruling from Justice Kagan where she said that that Section 3 of the 14th Amendment is inapplicable. You can have as tight a ruling as possible. I would actually say I would rather have an 8-1 decision that's a tough one. I want the court. The bottom line is the court needs to speak with one definitive voice in this to ensure that this issue is put to rest going forward, that it isn't used as a political cudgel. That's the damage here. As you see in Pennsylvania now, I think there's a congressional race that it's being used. If you don't stop it now, it's going to be used in effect over and over again as a political weapon for somebody to defeat their opponents in these campaigns, in political campaigns.
Good morning, Mike. Stal Ponticus here. I hate to ask this question, but sure. I need to. What happens if the decision comes down and the Supreme Court says, yes, the ballots will proceed as is, and they give all clear to Trump? Will the Biden administration then try to circumvent the decision like they've done on other items in the past and try to get around the Supreme Court?
You mean if the Supreme Court rules in Trump's favor?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. If the Supreme Court, okay, it was funny because you said I hate to go down this road. Originally, I thought you were saying, what if the Supreme Court rules that Colorado was correct? And that's a good hypothetical too. That's an interesting hypothetical too. I think Biden's not going to. This isn't Biden's role to do this. This is these are the state courts. So this would be the state. This is the Colorado Secretary of State, and this is the Colorado Supreme Court. So the federal government doesn't have any kind of dog in this fight as of right now. They might be writing an amicus brief. Biden administration might be submitting an amicus brief. I wouldn't suppose that they would, though, because it would really, really smack of political opportunism. And they might want to just say, hey, look, we're going to cut the chances of us succeeding at the Supreme Court are slim. There's a fairly good chance that the Colorado Supreme Court's decision is going to get overturned for all the reasons we've discussed. And I think they might just want to stay out of it and keep their powder dry in this context and use their weapons in other, fight other battles that they want to fight, the presidential immunity, all the other cases that Trump's facing.
I totally understand your explanation. The reason I asked is because I'm suspicious of lawyers like Mark Elias stepping in here and trying to do something. Okay.
Well, that would be, and if the decision were upheld, I think that would certainly be something that you would be very, very concerned about. Say, for example, that the Supreme Court, and this isn't out of the realm of possibility, but you have to consider all options here. The Supreme Court said, look, we're going to defer to the states here. Essentially, this is a states issue. This is an issue for the state legislatures and state judicial bodies to decide. We're going to stay hands off. There's not a role for the federal courts in this. This is simply states deciding who appears on the ballots of their elections. And if that happened, then you would see just a cavalcade of cases come about. And it wouldn't just be president; it would be anything. I mean, we posited in one of our briefs that we filed that, look, you could allege that Chuck Schumer engaged in insurrection when he yelled that Justice Kavanaugh and Gorsuch, you're going to reap the whirlwind, and that resulted in threats to Supreme Court justice. You can argue that the Bowman, Jamal Bowman pulling the fire alarm, Rashida Tlaib encouraging the protesters of the pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian. There's all kinds of you open a Pandora's box to just all kinds of all kinds of hypotheticals if the court upholds the Colorado Supreme Court's decision.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was going, Mike, is that, okay, so right now this is about Donald Trump and the lightning rod that is Donald Trump. And regardless of where you are politically with Donald Trump, the decision isn't just about Donald Trump. It begins with Donald Trump in Colorado, Maine, and wherever, but it doesn't end with Donald Trump. I mean, the ramifications of this are massive and nationwide, which is why I suspect the Supreme Court said, yeah, we don't have a choice. We're going to have to hear this.
Absolutely. And again, this is an interpretation of Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, something that the court hasn't done ever. And we've talked about this before, why this has never arisen. But it's really a case of first impression. You're going to have the court, essentially, and that's what they're doing. They're ruling on a constitutional law issue. Donald Trump just happens to be the instigator of this. But the interpretation here is, what is insurrection, whether under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, whether the president qualifies as an officer of the United States under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. Those are really fundamental constitutional interpretation issues that the court presumably is going to engage on.
So now we're basically at a point where I've seen people call this lawfare, instead of warfare, political warfare, this is lawfare. Are we at a point where we are risking the use of the judicial or abuse of the judicial process to become part of our politics and campaign unduly, as opposed to the judicial system being the referee to sort out disputes and where the constitutional lane is?
Right. That's a fantastic question. And the problem here is you're losing faith in the institutions. When you run to court like this and you have judges inserting themselves into the political process, the people feel like it's an unfair, you're taking the decision-making process out of the hands of the people. In other words, the Colorado Supreme Court, for example, as I said, disenfranchised millions of people when they upheld the district court ruling. The Secretary of State of Maine unilaterally disenfranchised the millions of people who would be poised to presumably vote for Donald Trump in a Maine primary. And what does that do? That removes that release valve that is so integral in our democracy, i.e. voting. If the people don't feel like if people feel the electoral system is rigged, and goodness knows they have enough reason to believe that already, now you're piling on. You really are throwing matches on gunpowder and just expecting some sort of explosive reaction. And courts should, to the extent possible, this is what we say. This is a political decision. It should be handled in the political realms. Courts should stay out of this. All things being equal, it's not the roles of the court. It's not the roles of the Secretary of State. These issues should be decided at the ballot box.
Mike, the precedent on the 14th Amendment is an interesting kind of subject to me. What do you think? What sort of ruling do you think is going to come out in regards to the proper interpretation, the proper application of the 14th Amendment?
Yeah, they could go any in a number of directions. As I said, they could rule that Section 3 of the 14th Amendment is not applicable to the President of the United States because the word president doesn't actually appear in Section 3. It says officers of the United States. It specifies a couple of other positions, but it doesn't specifically say president. So there's a good argument to be made that president is not encompassed in the language of the Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. Furthermore, there's the whole issue about, and this is what we get into a lot in our briefs, is whether Section 3 of the 14th Amendment is self-executing. In other words, do you need an act of Congress to say an individual, a party, or a private party, in this case, the individuals who brought the case in Colorado, have the role, have the authority. In other words, you have to have a law saying you can bring a lawsuit declaring somebody ineligible under this. So it's whether Section 3 is self-executing, whether it encompasses President of the United States. And then, of course, there's the factual issue. You can contemplate whether Donald Trump's actions on January 6th actually rose to insurrection as contemplated by the drafters of the 14th Amendment.
All right, Mike, where do we get in touch? Follow you on either social media, website. Really appreciate the explainer once again.
No problem. Landmarklegal.org is our website. Now, I think Landmark is our Twitter handle. You can check out either one and see all the good stuff that we're working on. And again, Stan, we're going to have oral arguments coming up in about a month, guys. So hopefully we'll be able to talk about how that went down as well.
We definitely will. Thanks, Mike. Good to talk to you again.
Thanks, Mike.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, 314-912-1019. Just ahead, let's talk about the other aspect of how people are trying to affect politics, literally putting people's lives in danger. and it happened in Missouri overnight, we're being told. I'll explain what happened just ahead here on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Don't try to make me stop, no inspiration. You have a soul so dark, it is no more.
Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Stop right now. I have had enough of this. Turn my eyes to your indifference. Stop right now before you blow us all away.
Columbo and Katie.
Don't forget to mark your calendars and come see our band, Tony Columbo and the North County Sound Machine, January 27th at Westport Playhouse. Get your tickets now at westportplay.com.
Weekdays at 2 on News Talk STL.
Hey guys, Ken Kruger. I've gotten to know these guys really well over the last few years. Yes, St. Louis Bath and Renovation. They're the most trusted name in bathroom remodelers in the St. Louis area. In fact, if you need bathroom repairs, complete bathroom remodeling, or handyman services, call St. Louis Bath and Renovation at 314-477-6476 or email Rob at stlbr.com. That's St. Louis Bath and Renovation.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. Doug and Safe Money Radio is on 3 times every weekend, but in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com or call 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Imagine a world where hands reach out to help one another and to help our first responders. Did you know that a recent study by Western Connecticut State University reveals that with each hour spent volunteering, your own happiness goes up by 16%? If you've ever wanted to be the spark, the change maker, the time is now. Volunteer a few hours with the David Dorn Foundation and ignite a new day for police officers and first responders. Visit dornfoundation.com and join as a volunteer. We're waiting to hear from you.
High school sports don't just happen. There's a ton of work that goes into every single athletic event.
And we have our school's athletic director to thank for a lot of it. Thank you.
For scheduling officials, so I can always play the game I love.
For ordering quality athletic equipment, so I can stay safe on the field.
For mentoring my coaches, so they can be the best role models for me.
For coordinating transportation, so I can get focused for the big game.
For helping us develop character and learn lessons that will benefit us for the rest of our lives.
Thank you to our AD for always creating a positive experience for us. We'll never forget it.
From all of us at the NIAAA, thank you to every athletic administrator in Missouri for all you do to enrich the lives of your students. It does not go unnoticed. This message presented by the NIAAA, the National Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
You can't buy a best friend. You can love them, walk them, pet them, and care for them, whether they want you to or not. You can take a picture or 50. You can fly to the moon, travel the world, or just stay in bed. You can't buy a best friend like that, but you can adopt one. There are millions of pets waiting for a best friend just like you. Help us save them all at bestfriends.org.
I answered the call. Together, we fought for our nation and its people. And even though I no longer wear the uniform, I am still a Marine. My service has come full circle. I will continue to support my country and my community. Then and now, Semper Fidelis remains my promise. Always faithful, always Marine.
This is 1019 and 94.1.
I have to tell you, if this is how they're going to behave, I'm rethinking my position.
News Talk STL.
Hello, morning people. Tony Columbo and Katie Fitzpatrick here.
Thanks for listening to Mike Ferguson in the Morning here on News Talk STL. And don't forget to join us today at 2 for Columbo and Katie.
See you then.
Okay, I want to kind of get over a little bit of mythos in our country here, guys.
Okay.
Let's not pretend that our politics has typically been gentlemanly over the years.
Oh, gosh, no.
Okay.
No.
It's been ugly for generations.
Forever.
Century and a half, maybe two. I mean, literally, we've had, presidents murdered.
Yes.
Over politics.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had election fraud going back to the New York State stuff back in the late 70s, in the 1790s.
Yeah.
And it started with a T, and I can't remember the name of it. Rats.
But
It'll come to my mind.
The point I'm making is that the idea that it has all been above board and gentlemanly up until 2020 is nonsense. Okay. So I just want to put that up there. But now we're seeing the lives of political figures put in danger on a far more regular basis because that's how much we are devolving. And notice I said devolving as in present tense.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. By the way, News Talk STL, we got the streaming audio. So put us on your phone, put us on your car.
Do the thing.
Yeah, do the thing. Just look up News Talk STL. It's a very free app and a very, very low memory usage. And so you can take us anywhere you want to go. By the way, quick story. I had this really cool thing happen over the weekend. I play in the old man baseball leagues, and we're doing practices like a few days a week now. It's an open workout. Anybody can come and get some throws in and get some swings in.
Right.
And one of the guys in the league came up to me on Friday, and he said, "Hey, Mike, I just really like your show. I love what you guys are doing. I listen every morning." And I'm like, "That's awesome." You know?
Absolutely.
And he says, "I'm a left of center guy, right?" And I didn't know that. No, I generally don't talk about politics or radio or stuff or anything.
You guys play baseball.
Yeah, I get there, man. I'm like, I'm off duty.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I actually didn't know that. And he told me, he goes, yeah, but he goes, you guys are always giving me something to think about. And I told him, I said, dude, that is the nicest thing you could possibly say to me.
Absolutely.
And I really appreciate that because we don't pull any punches on our opinions on stuff.
Right.
But I just really appreciate that he took note of that because that's one of the ways that we function the show. I mean, we hit hard on stuff.
Yes.
But I never want to hit unfairly.
Right. And I think we do a pretty decent job of explaining the right's position on things in an understandable, intelligible way, as opposed to simply just saying, well, you're wrong and stupid, you dumb commie.
Right.
Occasionally I will call you a
There
commie,
are people
though.
who I think are I mean, there are people in their positions I think are morally bankrupt. And I'm going to call it that.
I see where you're going.
Right.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Cubs fans.
Oh, no. Is that some?
Because I was ready.
Is that some guilt that you're feeling?
He was bracing.
No, I was waiting for you to say.
He was bracing.
That sounds like a you problem, not a me problem.
By the way, it's Tammany Hall. I was trying to think of
Tammany Hall,
yeah.
yeah.
The
So-
early election fraud.
But the idea that things have never been this bad before is not true. It just has.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. There were some really rough campaigns.
Terrible.
I remember people saying that if you elect this guy, there will be, babies writhing on a pike and women's virtue violated by...
Abraham Lincoln
various people.
Abraham Lincoln had to wear a disguise after being elected president to get to Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And take like trains, midnight trains and everything. I mean, the Secret Service going into the job of protecting the president started under Lincoln. Okay, so I say all of that to point out that we're now making it a commonplace thing. Now, before, it wasn't unheard of, but that's still not how you could still generally go to coffee or whatever with a friend who disagreed with you politically.
Yeah, there was a period of time where that was normal.
Now that's considered weird.
Yeah.
It shouldn't.
I'd like to think it shouldn't be.
Yeah, but you don't have to compromise your principles to not be a vile person.
Yes, that's true.
And that's a theme I have a feeling we're going to talk about. So the reason I bring all of this up is because our Secretary of State on the Missouri side, Jay Ashcroft, tweeted right around 11 o'clock or so last night. He said that his house was just swatted. So I guess we're looking at 9 hours ago or so.
Man.
9.5 hours ago. The Secretary of State's home had a police force show up at it. Now, that's all we know. I've texted Jay to see if I can get more information and obviously to see if he's up for talking. I'm sure he's probably talking to a lot of police, a lot of law enforcement,
He's
I don't think
right
the
now.
Missouri State Capitol Police, I don't think that extends to the homes or anything like that.
No.
But he's got a lot going on here. And so what happens here, and we've heard of this in other cases with other political figures, mostly Republicans, a few Democrats,
mostly
Republicans have been hit with the swatting, and the swatting, which we need to explain what it is, but the point is much bigger than just what the swatting is. It is people saying that I am going to go after you and your family personally to the point of putting your lives in danger.
Right. So if let's say I had a problem with Tony Colombo.
Sure.
And I found somehow Tony's address. So I say, hey, I call up the police and say, hey, there is a man waving a gun. He's got a lady hostage, and he's fired several shots already.
He's wearing sweatpants.
He's wearing sweatpants. Yes, socks and sandals, which is a crime in and of itself.
That's true.
but you see what I'm saying? So you set up a situation where the police are expecting violence. They're expecting, to have to deal with a really volatile situation. And typically, what they'll do is they'll arm up to the hilt,
right?
Because they say, well, we don't want to risk our lives, but we need to go and deal with this situation. So they'll probably call SWAT team, special weapons and tactics. That's what they do. So they'll be fully armored and armed and prepared for a situation that the caller is describing. So what then happens is, you're sleeping sound in your bed, and your kids are down the hall and they're sleeping. Little James has already gone night, but then the police knock down your front door, and they're ready to go, expecting somebody with a gun on the other side.
Yeah, and in Tony's case, he's already hopped up on Monster Energy drink.
Yeah, so he runs up from the basement like, "What are you guys doing?"
That's right, and that would be the normal reaction. Somebody's kicking in your door.
Yeah.
What do? You protect yourself, you protect your family, and that's what the swatting situation is designed to. Now, I have no idea whether or not the Secretary of State's door was kicked in. Literally, what I just read to you is all that we know.
Yeah, there was an encounter with the police due to somebody calling in a false, a report on his house.
And swatting is often done in a way using internet phones that you can't trace where the call came from.
Yeah.
And you may say, okay, so if the police get a call that they can't identify and trace, saying something like that, especially at a political figure's office, they should know better. Well, no.
No.
No. They're doing, you think of it the other way. It is not uncommon for political figures to be physically attacked and assaulted. Look what happened with the Supreme Court justices' homes, where a guy traveled across the country trying to kill conservative Supreme Court justices because he was ginned up by the pro-abortion groups. So they have to take these things seriously.
Right.
They've got to take them seriously.
Now, at the very least, what probably happened, and I'm going to make some assumptions here, but that they took that into account, so they didn't treat it as though he was the problem, but perhaps somebody was making a problem for him.
Who knows? Yeah, who knows? But the Secretary of State thanked the Jefferson City Police, said they handled it professionally, and so I don't know what entailed. I'm sure that throughout the day we're going to find out a little more about that. But the Secretary of State announced that overnight on his ex Twitter account. And so that's where we are. That's where we are now. Is you're conservative, or in some rare cases, you're left wing. Whatever it is that your opinions are so bad, your votes are so bad, your campaign platform is so bad, your performance in office is so bad, I am going to try to have you and your family killed.
By police.
That's where we are today.
Yeah.
And so this is why, and we'll talk about this a little bit more here around 7:35 or so, is that we need to resist the temptation to use all of the tactics that our political opponents are using.
Right.
They want to go get in the governor, and they want to become immoral. They want to become unethical. It is not the right approach for us to say, well, hey, if you can do it, then we can do it. And therefore it's ethical for me because you did it first.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to go there.
Cannot do that.
No.
There are some things where you say, okay, those are the tactics you want to use. For instance, you want to say ballot harvesting. It's legal. They're doing it. So go do it.
Yes.
And then while you're doing it, you try to make it illegal again to ballot harvest.
Right.
But those are the tactics where you say, if it's good for you, it's good for us. We're going to do that.
If it's within the rules,
absolutely,
we can do it. Absolutely.
What we cannot do on the right, whether you're just a big R Republican, whether you're conservative, whether you're libertarian, whatever it is that at some point you have to step back, take a deep breath, and say, who are we?
Yes. What do we stand for?
What do we stand for? Is this a matter of just my team winning and your team losing? Or if we're conservative, what are we conserving? And if part of what you want to conserve is the rule of law and respect for the process, then you can't violate that just because they do.
Yeah. Your conservation has to start with you.
Right. Because if it's a matter of, you know what, let's look at that Democratic candidate for whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the Democratic state official, but there aren't any anymore in the Missouri side. But let's look at the Illinois
dog
side.
catcher.
Yeah, the
Dog catcher, yeah.
Or in Illinois. You know what?
Oh,
that J.B. Pritzker is one of the worst, most left-wing extremist governors in America. And he is.
And he's ruining Illinois.
So somebody decides, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to show him, and I'm going to go and work out a swatting thing at his home in Chicago, one of his homes in Chicago. And the same thing happens with him.
Mm-hmm.
That's every bit as immoral and wrong as what happened to Jay last night.
Absolutely.
And we have to be above that, not just for political reasons, but we have to be that because that's who we are. And then my hope is that the very few people on the far left who are doing this will either be drowned out on their own side, they'll be vetted and they'll be policed by their own side, or simply they'll be caught. If we're devolving, then we need to turn it around culturally to evolve into a better situation. And that means that those of us on the right are going to have to lead instead of just reacting again.
You know, I don't want to bring geese into the conversation, but you can't really use if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander in every situation because there are situations where it's not right.
Right, precisely. You put our candidates and friends in grave danger, so therefore we get a freebie and we're going to do it to you is something that we can never accept.
No.
Never accept. And you can still be hardcore on any issue that you want. You don't have to compromise a single principle to see it that way.
You got to protect your soul while you're doing this. I mean, it's a tough thing to deal with, but protect your soul at all costs. And then everything else will work out.
Yeah. And maybe we win, maybe we lose, but the reality is that you have to keep the first thing.
Absolutely.
314-912-1019.
Meanwhile, geese are saying, thanks for keeping me out of this.
Yeah.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Combo of rain, snow, and wind over the next couple of days. Our first round is this afternoon and this evening. A mix of rain and snow, maybe a little slush for the evening drive, but with a high of 41. I think that's more of an issue north and west of St. Louis. Tonight, we bounce back to all rain, and that continues through the morning rush tomorrow, a low of 37. Finally, as temperatures drop Tuesday afternoon, we switch to all snow. Final accumulations around the metro, 0 to 2 inches, with more to our northwest. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
Well, I did it again, and I'm sure I will do it again. I'm willing to bet many of you have done the same thing. And when you realize that you did it, were you ashamed? Maybe you were embarrassed. Maybe you just thought, I'm an idiot. Now, that last one, that nailed my response, as well as I was embarrassed. And yes, I even had a feeling of shame because, well, I thought I was better than that. Maybe we all need to get together and form a support group. We could sit in a circle and each share the time that we did it. And, wait. Did I forget to tell you what I did more than once? And you probably did more than once? My bad. Okay, let me start over. Here's how this plays out. I'm looking for something to watch on TV. I see a movie, and I think, that looks pretty good. I get some popcorn, whatever, settle down to watch what appears to be a good movie. But about a third of the way in, I'm thinking, I've seen this before, but I'm not sure. So I continue. By 2/3 in, I know I've seen it, but I don't turn it off. I don't turn it off. Why? Not only had I forgot that I had already seen it, I forgot how it ends. So I have to continue watching. That's a part of my life I'll never get back.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
It's been a very busy year for Wellington Environmental. Tom and his staff had traveled all over making sure that minor issues don't become major disasters. Then there are the times Wellington is called in for emergencies, but nothing Wellington hasn't seen before. They have certified inspectors, chemists, scientists, environmental planners, and that's just some of their expertise. That is why the St. Louis Business Journal gave Wellington such a high ranking. So what will 2024 bring? No one knows, but if you take time to visit the Wellington Environmental Facebook, you're going to see things that might explain health issues at your home or business, affecting you, your family, clients. Wellington Environmental Facebook. Tom Wellington and the entire staff wish you a blessed 2024. Your world, cleaner, better, safer. So, as always, be well with Wellington.
Hey guys, Columbo here, reminding you that if you belong to an organization like a school or a church, or your kids are part of a group or a sports team that needs to raise money, there's no better way to do so than with a TJ's Pizza fundraiser. TJ's Pizza has been helping local organizations raise money for over 30 years to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. A local company helping local people, and there's lots of different ways TJ's can help you raise big money fast. Get started now at tjspizza.com.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
Thanks for being my voice in all this.
This is News Talk STL.
There are people out there that feel the way that I feel and say what I say.
Welcome home.
Hey everyone, this is State Senator Nick Schroer. I am the host of Stand and Fight every Sunday night. Tune in to us at 8 p.m. Right now, let's hear more of Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
Righty sent us a note on Rumble, guys.
Okay.
Because we just talked about police being called to Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft's house, and there's always criticism of law enforcement when swatting happens, and a lot of criticism of law enforcement. But Righty said, I have to give a huge shout out to the Richmond Heights Police Department for having a response time of 2 minutes during a home invasion attempt Saturday at 4 a.m. They saved a man's life.
Oh, wow.
I live in Richmond Heights.
Oh,
so
man.
I said, what in the world happened, Righty? I asked him. And then he went on to say that at 4 a.m., a huge noise at the front door, and then another, somebody trying to kick in a door. Looks like it was somebody Righty's related to. They called 911, and the police showed up within 2 minutes before the door gave way as whoever it was trying to kick it in. He says, thank God, we were drawn on the door, meaning that they were pointing the guns at the door. And
wow.
It would have been a really, really big mess. Looks like they got whoever it was.
That's good.
Whoever it was that was trying to do that. So lives were saved because of a quick response from the police department. So way to go, Richmond Heights Police Department.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Thank God for that.
I live literally walking distance from the
station?
Police department. Yeah. The police department and the fire department are right there, part of a city hall building at Dale and Big Bend.
Oh, right
And
off close to 40?
Right off of literally feet off of 40. And I live just down Dale, and then you turn on my street. So I could walk there anytime. Believe me, every time there's a fire, I hear the sirens. Put it this way.
Yeah.
All right, just wanted to put that out there because, we have a lot of debates over, law enforcement stuff. But, hey, when somebody says this happened and lives were saved, I want to put that out there, too. So, Righty, I'm glad everybody's okay, man. Thanks for sending that in.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, do we agree that abusing the political process to take a candidate you don't like off the ballot is bad?
Yes. Don't do that.
Yeah, and we were just talking about how we're devolving in our process to the point of putting people's lives in danger. And then we just talked to Mike O'Neill from Landmark Legal Foundation, which, by the way, that podcast is going to be up here in a few hours or so. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. This is a really good explainer that your friends who don't understand this whole mess, just send this to them. They say, I don't know what's happening with this Trump thing and the ballot thing. What is going on? Just send them that and say, listen to this.
He's so good.
Yeah, exactly. So, by the way, 750. Listen, guys, in all seriousness, I'm told often that I don't look as old as I am.
Yeah.
I get that a lot.
Sure.
But I don't look that young. Okay. I'll explain what that means because I had something really weird happen over the weekend. It's absolutely hysterical. Okay. So 750. I'll tell you what that is. Feel free to make fun of me at 314-912-1019.
Hey, buddy, where's your dad?
Yeah, really. Oh, my goodness. All right. U.S. Supreme Court, going to hear that case about Trump being off the ballot, which we talked to Mike O'Neill about. What I didn't get a chance because we ran out of time was to talk to Mike about saying, okay, now we've got places around the country, including Missouri, where some lawmakers are saying, hey, you're doing it. You want to throw a Republican off the ballot? We're going to throw a Democrat off the ballot. And they've actually filed legislation to disqualify Joe Biden. There's been at least 2 pieces of legislation that I found. One by Senator Rick Bratton, another one by Bill Eigel, who says he's either about to file it or has filed it, where they would pass a law, which, by the way, Mike Parson would veto. And then he'd incur the anger of everybody, even though he'd be correct on this. Is basically a retaliatory legislation to boot Joe Biden off the ballot in Missouri.
Yeah.
And so they're saying, okay, so if you win there and you abuse the process and you keep, in this case, Donald Trump off the ballot, then we're going to retaliate and keep Joe Biden off the ballot. Okay.
You know what? I'm just going to toss this in, and you can
Yeah.
jump into the pool if you'd like.
Sure.
This is what happens in a banana republic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And sadly, is this what we've come to?
Or is it what we're going towards?
Yeah.
Because if it's what we're going towards, we've got time to stop.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Now, a couple of things can be true at the same time. What happened in Colorado with their Supreme Court and their district court below that, and what happened in, say, Maine, the effort being made in Illinois, other states, Michigan and some others, they've already said, no, stop. We're not doing this. But what's happened in all of those is an abuse of the process. It's politicizing either the administrative or the judicial process. And it is wrong. It is absolutely undermining a foundation of our country in that we have elections in this country. Okay, so that can be true, that they are abusing it. And at the same time, we can say retaliating against that tit for tat is also wrong.
Yes.
Because there are, I think, a lot of people, probably some people who disagree with me right now, and I am absolutely open to hearing you out, who are going to argue, and what they're going to say, Gabe, is, okay, but if they're going to sink to that level, they're going to go unconstitutional, they're going to go, they're going to mess with the electoral process like that, then we're going to do it too. If they can do it, then we're going to do it. And to most people, you're going to say, well, that sounds fair. That's fine. Hey, you started it. You set the rules.
Yeah. Yeah, and here's the thing. I mean, on a rhetorical level, if you make that argument, it's like, hey, well, what if we do it? And what if this? That's one thing. It's one thing to make the argument, and it's another to try and actually do the thing that you're trying to argue is immoral or wrong in general. It's let's think about baseball. Who are the cheaters who won the championship?
That would be the
Astros.
Houston Astros.
Yeah, that's right. And everybody's still mad about it,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Especially Mike.
So
yes.
So the thing is, imagine your team, and insert team here, decides to do the same thing and gets to the champion, and even doesn't even get to the championship, but just they get caught doing the same thing. Is your argument, well, the Astros did it and they got away with it? Or are you saying, no, you're ruining the integrity of the game. You're my team, but please don't do this.
But Gabe, but when it comes to this, the other side has already said we don't care about the integrity, and then they might win, so therefore we can't care about the integrity if we want any chance to win. That's the argument.
Yeah, well, yeah, that would be the argument.
And the other side has also said over the years, well, this has been going on for decades. They've been stealing signs
yeah,
for decades.
Hey,
We got people out in center field getting the catcher's sign and giving it to the batter.
Stealing signs on the field is totally legit. I will say that. The sending it in from off the field, whole other thing.
That's another thing.
But hey, I'm a catcher. If they steal my signs, that's on me.
Right.
The guy is second base or whatever the case is. But so there's playing fast and loose with what's legal, ballot harvesting, et cetera, things like that.
Right.
And then there's what's playing fast and loose with what's illegal, cameras going in, algorithms checking the signs, hitting the trash cans to signal to Jose Altuve what pitch is coming. That's a whole different thing that undermines the integrity. What's happening in Colorado and in Maine is undermining the integrity of the electoral process, one of the foundations of our society. So do we say you guys took a sledgehammer to that foundation, so in order to get even, we're going to go grab our sledgehammer and take it to the foundation as well? That'll show you.
Yeah, we've kind of seen this before, haven't we? Where they're always like, hey, you know what? We have to destroy capitalism to save capitalism. Remember that? That was the bailout. That was the bailout argument, right? That was the too big to fail, right? Remember all that? And we said, really? Is that where we're going now? And here we are, a couple decades later, and it's not any better.
That was the Wall Street excuse. That was too big to fail.
Too big to fail was the Wall Street excuse, and our administration oversaw that bailout, right?
Yep.
They were our guys.
Yep.
We can't give in to the impulse to put our finger on the scale on one side or the other, as opposed to protect the integrity of the scale system.
Listen, elections and politics are a contact sport, figuratively speaking. Of course, with the left right now, it's literal, when you see what's happening with the violence they're willing to employ. But you don't have to, and I want to end all of these conversations, unless somebody's got something you want to add to it here, to point out that you do not have to compromise on a single principle. You can hold your ground. You don't even, I'm not even saying you have to be nice to everybody. It would be ideal if we could debate and discuss respectfully and still hold to our principles. But maybe we're at a point where, you know what, we've drawn our lines, we've got our camps, we've got our tribes, and you're just a political enemy. Okay, if that's where we are, that's where we are. But you don't have to violate any of your principles politically, culturally, or otherwise in order to stay dedicated to being ethical and stay dedicated to preserving our constitutional foundation of this country. Because if we get rid of that, then the rest of it doesn't matter. Like Stell said, then we are in a banana republic, and whoever has the best, arms or the best cheating or the best technology moving forward, that's who's going to win, whether or not they actually won.
Yeah.
314-912-1019. By the way, Righty says that actually was not somebody who was related to. It was him. It was his house.
Oh, wow.
That happened.
Whoa.
Ooh, jeez. I'm glad everybody's okay.
Yeah.
All right, still ahead here. Okay, I may not look my age.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm a youthful 52.
You have a youthful.
I'm a youthful 52.
Yes.
Maybe it's the collagen I put in my protein shake every day. I don't know. But I don't look that young.
Right.
Oil of Olay.
Something. I will tell you this right after the break. That just reminded me of a story that my wife actually did to me with some of the skin stuff. I will tell you about that in addition to the...
You were subjected to that.
Yes. The weird thing that happened over the weekend I'll tell you about.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Hey, it's Tony Colombo. The new year is upon us, and the cleaning pros at Zero Res are starting things off with a bang with what I think is their best offer ever. Book a cleaning in January and mention the Colombo special, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $119, plus you can take $50 off an air duct cleaning. We trust Zero Res with our home, and after you take advantage of this amazing special, you will too. Just remember to mention the Colombo special when you call 314-474-2020 or book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Then here's a great idea. Donate your car and help veterans and their families. Yes, one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program and we'll come and remove your car for free. Fast, free towing, and 24-hour response. You can donate most cars, trucks, or SUVs in most conditions. The proceeds raised goes to help active military, veterans, and their families, and you get a tax deduction. All you need to do is make this free call. Get rid of that old car and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now and book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Donation Program now. Donate your car and help veterans and their families. Operators are standing by. Here's the number.
800-925-1596. 800-925-1596. 800-925-1596. That's 800-925-1596.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com.
Bill O'Reilly here. Check out the O'Reilly Update this afternoon at 3:45. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Okay, I've been told that I look younger than I am, but I know I don't look that young. I'm going to describe what that young means here in a second. This was so funny. It happened over the weekend because I mentioned it to Stell early. He's like, you got to talk about that.
It's so surprising.
So weird. So weird. All right, Missouri legislature up and running for 2024. Are they going to get a whole bunch of great conservative stuff done, or are they going to sit there and have the same grinding to a halt as we've seen the last couple of years? We're about to find out. But I've got an update from a state House member at 8:05 Live right here on News Talk STL. By the way, okay, you mentioned, before I get into this thing that happened over the weekend, you talked about like some of the skid scare stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There was one time, it was several months ago, my wife and I were both in the bathroom, and she was like, taking her makeup
doing
off or
face
whatever.
stuff.
I was
The lady face stuff.
brushing my teeth or whatever the case is. But and all of a sudden I hear, oh, hey, turn around for a second. And I turn around and I am blasted with some spray
right in the face.
in my face.
Assaulted.
And then she's like rubbing it in. I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, no, this is whatever the skincare cream. And she goes, it's supposed to be, or spray, it's supposed to be really good for you. I'm like, well, I hope so. You just dug it in.
And watch me put these cucumbers on your eyes.
Yeah, exactly. Now seeping through my pores. Thank you. Thank you, sweetie.
But, hey, it must work. I mean, you guys have seen my wife. She's pretty hot, so it must work, whatever it is. Oh, okay, so get this. Over the weekend, it was Rachel and my anniversary, as we talked about on Friday, joking about the fact that my anniversary is January 6th of all dates on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was our 6th anniversary, and, it's not a big, we had a kind of a mini blowout last year on our 5th anniversary, went to a really expensive dinner and all this kind of stuff. We're like, we're going to go to a movie. We're going to go get a nice dinner. We're going to have a nice night.
Yeah.
And because it's kind of just another number anniversary. I never want to downplay it, but we decided
it wasn't a big round number. Right. Is usually the big deal. Right?
On the 10th anniversary, coming up in a few years, then we'll do something really big. I will probably take some time off, guys. Just understand you'll be on your own because we're probably going to take a trip somewhere.
Okay.
I don't know where.
That's fine.
This thing. So we decide we're going to go see the movie about Napoleon Bonaparte. That what's his face?
Ridley Scott.
Yeah, Ridley Scott made that movie, and it's Joaquin Phoenix, who's a really weird dude.
Yes.
I mean, just a really messed up and weird dude.
Typically a very good actor, though.
Oh, amazing actor. And the movie was really interesting.
Right.
It's kind of like we're leaving and we're like, we have thoughts.
That's what I heard from everybody who's seen it. It's like, we have thoughts about it.
It's very long. Go to the bathroom before you go in to see the movie.
Like 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Well,
it's not quite that. It's like 2 hours and 40-some minutes.
Okay.
So
but everybody walked out wanting creme brulee.
Yes, yes. And so, of course, there's the historians are always arguing over the
accuracy.
Movie and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an interesting movie. It was a fun movie to watch, and there were a lot. Rachel and I had a really interesting comparing notes, kind of a fun conversation about it. So, yeah, I thought it was worth going to see. I got a kick out of it. Don't take it as history fact.
Oh, gosh, no.
There were some things they got right and some things that were like, no, that was just put in there for the movie. But anyway, we go to the theater, which is in St. Charles. And so we just got there really early, and we did that thing where we pre-booked our tickets and picked our seats and went ahead and pre-ordered our snacks. And we just got there really early, and our food's not even ready yet because we're there like 20 minutes early. So there's a little bar right next to the concession stand. And then there's a lounge on the other side there, which I didn't even know movie theaters had that,
Yeah.
And so pool table in there. It was really kind of cool. And so we go up there. And, Rachel gets her mocktail. She doesn't drink alcohol. So she got this, her little mixie, her little whatever thing.
Some version of a Shirley Temple.
Right. Yeah. And the guy's like, would you like anything? And I kind of look, I'm like, yeah, they got that. They got one of those ciders that I like. I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll take that. What size? Whatever your smallest is. That's fine. He goes, okay, can I see your ID, please?
I don't care who you are. That's funny right there.
Wait. Okay. He asked you for your ID in order to get your alcoholic drink.
I just turned 52 years old, and I got carded.
Okay. Now, for those of you who have not seen a picture of Mike or don't watch the stream, Mike has a full silver beard.
Yes. and gray at the temple.
Yeah, you've got the Reed Richards gray at the temple.
I got the gray at the temples. I've got a gray beard. And
he's just thinking you matured early.
Maybe that's it.
I had a guy in high school who was like that. He looked like he was 30 years old.
I was stunned. I'm like, seriously? He goes, yes, I have to see your ID.
Oh, man.
Now, here's what complicated it is I just had to get my driver's license renewed because mine expired on December 31st. So I had to go get a new one. And, of course, what they do then is they give you the printout of the temporary one, and then they mail you your regular one once it's done, and then they take the little thing that they punch through the card, and it just says void on it.
Okay, so you have a piece of paper,
which was in my car because it's on my visor.
Oh yeah, okay.
Because, and I started pulling. I'm like, wait a minute. I said, well, I just got mine renewed, so this one says void.
Oh boy.
And the guy's like, I'm not supposed to take that. But
all right.
I'm like, and
it's like, were you supposed to even ask?
Well, I asked him. I said, really? He goes, listen. He goes, if we get caught not carding anybody, we're in trouble.
Really? So they just have a universal carding stance.
You could be 85 years old with a cane and a social security card that says 2. Number 2.
Yes, client number 2.
and they're apparently going to card you there, which I thought was one of the funniest things.
Wow. Okay.
And this guy's like shrugging. He's like, okay.
A little overly cautious.
Just doing my job.
Yeah, and I'm not going to yell at that guy. I mean, he's under strict orders. He's, and he goes, well, if there's a secret shopper that comes in, we could get in a lot of trouble. I'm like, if there's a secret shopper who's 75 and you're gonna get in trouble for not, and he goes, yeah.
That is so dumb. I don't like that. I remember when it became, with the thing was you simply all they looked for on your driver's license was whether it started with 19. If the year of your birth started with 19, then it was like, okay, you're good.
Right.
It's like, and I remember the first time I actually got carded. I had to show that, and they looked for a split second and say, okay, you're good. I'm like, you actually saw this? Like, yeah, I just thought it was 19. And I realized, holy crap.
Yeah. All right, the Missouri legislature underway. Let's get this week's preview. What's going on with State Representative Jim Murphy at right around 8:04.
I think he's of age.
Yes.
Is your family prepared for the financial burden of losing a loved one?
Are you aware of the cost of a funeral?
Benjamin Schaefer with Senior Memorial could help you qualify for lifetime permanent final expense insurance coverage with no medical exam required.
Just answer a few health questions, and once accepted, your rates never increase.
Do you have diabetes? High blood pressure?
Have you had a heart attack? A stroke?
No problem.
Benjamin Schaefer with Senior Memorial can help protect your legacy.
Call or text 314-866-8886. That's 314-866-8886.
To learn more about permanent lifetime final expense insurance coverage.
Benjamin Schaefer with Senior Memorial could help you qualify for immediate coverage by answering just a few health questions.
Call or text 314-866-8886. Or learn more at memorialplans.com. That's memorialplans.com.
Policies underwritten by Senior Life Insurance Company, not available in all states.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. The National Transportation Safety Board says a piece of a Boeing jetliner, the plane experienced an in-flight blowout last week, has been found.
At a news conference carried by KATU, NTSB Chair Jennifer Homendy says a teacher discovered the lost door plug in his backyard in Portland and sent the photos to the safety board. Investigators will examine the 26 by 40-inch plug for signs of how it broke free Friday from an unused exit as a Boeing 737 MAX 9 cruised about 3 miles over Oregon. Homendy says the explosive rush of air damaged several rows of seats, pulled insulation from the wall, and ripped the headset off the co-pilot who had been in the cockpit with a closed door.
They hear a bang. They immediately put on their oxygen masks. At the time there is a bang, The door flies open.
Hammond says a pressurization light came on during or after 3 previous flights, but she says investigators are not sure if the warning light is related to Friday's incident. I'm Donna Warder.
Parts of the east could be in for rain, a lot of rain in the coming couple of days.
We are expecting a significant flood risk. So flash flooding, river flooding, and coastal flooding all could be significant with this system early to midweek. Areas impacted from the central Gulf Coast into the southeast U.S., the Carolinas, all the way into the mid-Atlantic, and then even into southern New England.
The National Weather Service's Mark Chenard says could be especially dicey for parts of New England where there's a foot or more of snow on the ground following that weekend nor'easter. $1.6 trillion spending plan agreed to by congressional negotiators in the Biden administration. President Biden likes it. The Congressional Freedom Caucus, not so much. On Wall Street, Dow futures down 133. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The words you are about to hear are taken from letters sent in by members of the Trinity Debt Management Program.
Dear Trinity, today I'm making my final credit card payment.
Before I came to you, I was in a constant state of anxiety and panic, but now there is hope for my family's financial future.
Working with Trinity made me understand that I'm not alone.
You really do help people.
Your kindness will never be forgotten.
Without Trinity's support, I would not have achieved my lifelong goal of becoming debt-free.
We saved a lot on interest and penalties, of course, but the reward was the gift of human kindness.
Trinity has carried me through a very difficult time in my life. You're amazing.
I used to feel so anxious and hopeless. Now I feel grace and peace.
God bless Trinity as you continue to help others become debt-free.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976. That's 1-800-990-6976.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Combo of rain, snow, and wind over the next couple of days. Our first round is this afternoon and this evening. A mix of rain and snow, maybe a little slush for the evening drive, but with a high of 41. I think that's more of an issue north and west of St. Louis. Tonight, we bounce back to all rain, and that continues through the morning rush tomorrow, a low of 37. Finally, as temperatures drop Tuesday afternoon, we switch to all snow. Final accumulations around the metro, 0 to 2 inches, with more to our northwest. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Stand and Fight with Nick Schroer.
Hey everyone, this is Nick Schroer from Stand and Fight every Sunday 8 to 10 p.m. If you need tree removal, storm damage, repairs to trees, tree trimming, pruning, if your bushes are out of control, call River City Tree Service. Free quotes right now, 314-270-8071, 314-270-8071. Professional tree services performed by ISA certified arborists. Request your free quote at rivercitytreeservice.com.
Getting a new floor for your home can be intimidating and a little scary, but that's not the case when you go to Michaels Flooring Outlet. Katie here, and my mom and dad used Michaels, and they had a great experience. They've been a locally owned and operated family business for more than 30 years. You want variety? Michaels has carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, and many other options. Shop in-store at one of their 3 locations in Creve Coeur, Dardine Prairie, or St. Peters. Check out everything that Michaels has to offer at igotfloored.com.
Mike Ferguson.
Are you pretending to be crazy?
Gabe Pfeiffer.
There's something serious I have to tell you about the future.
Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up, St. Louis.
Hey, will you guys knock it off?
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL. Get up, this is your cousin.
You know, in Missouri, the new legislative session starts early January, as we all know. And, of course, the news junkies, the political junkies, you know, we get all excited. What's going to be the drama this year? What are going to be the big issues? All the hope that we can accomplish so much for the people. And then there's the reality that sets in to where the infighting grinds things to a halt, and we squeak by some things, but not other things. Part of that is the political process is supposed to be difficult. But what can get done this year? Let's talk about that here in a moment. By the way, right around 8:20 or so, I've got a news roundup for you, including the update on the fact that our U.S. Secretary of Defense was in the intensive care unit and the president didn't even know about it. This is insane, but I'll talk about that in the news roundup here in a little bit. I'm Mike Ferguson. It's 8:06. I got Estelle Ponticus in the studio here with me, joined now by State Representative Jim Murphy. Jim, good to chat with you again. This is going to be an interesting session. Yeah, I mean, election years are always a little bit different when it comes to the legislative session. There's a lot of moving parts that's going on. But I want to start with some of the issues that you've been dealing with the last 2, 3, 4 years even, likely to be back up top of the radar again. And so, for instance, you talk about education choice and the expansion of that's proposed and some of the other issues that have been pushed year after year after year. Is it possible that some of these things you've talked about in the past make it to the finish line again this year, or has what we've seen in the previous years as far as the politicking of it likely to be the playbook we see again this year? Let's start with, for instance, with the school choice issue, charter school expansion, whether it's an ESA expansion or whatever the case is. What do you foresee when it comes to some version of school choice?
I see every one of those issues being addressed in the House of Representatives. I see them passing out of the House of Representatives, and I see them dying in a glorious flame in the Senate because the Senate's not functioning.
Yeah, and I've got a lot of questions about the functionality of the legislature right now. I'm glad you said that, Jim. And when we look at those dynamics, this is an election year. You would think that those who are either running for re-election, running for a different seat, running for a statewide office would really want to say, let's do whatever it takes to get it across the finish line so that we can hit the campaign trail and say, look what we accomplished, look what I did. And yet I've got the same worry that you do, Jim, that it's just going to grind to a halt because of the political games and running out the clock again.
Well, I guess now we're in this age, as I heard on Wednesday, that the statesmanship is dead. Well, I'd like to find a statesman in the Senate, to be honest with you. I don't think it's dead. I don't think any of them exist. I remember when Trump ran, the thing that we loved about Trump is he wrote a book called The Art of the Deal. There's no art of the deal anymore. It's now just plunging people into submission. I mean, this is just ridiculous. And, I guess it's good politics to the base if you're running into some type of primary, but I'm going to tell you, I think the people of Missouri are going to look for leaders that actually get stuff done.
Can you be statesmanlike and still hold fast to your principles, be it a conservative principle, libertarian principle, whatever the case is? Because what we hear a lot is, I'm not going to be in the mushy middle. I've got a backbone. I'm not giving in an inch. Can you still hold the line and still be statesmanlike?
The art of the deal is convincing the other person that you're right. And I will tell you, the way you don't do that is tell them that they're idiots. Because the first thing they do is push back. What we lack, not only do we lack, good, solid conservatives in every district, but frankly, every district isn't a good, solid conservative district. So we're not going to have that perfectly forever, or else we wouldn't have any Democrats in there. But I think also we have to look at the good conservatives that we're electing and saying, are these people talented enough to convince the other side that this is the right thing to do? I'm not sure that we do. When you have Mike Boone standing up and killing everything that's good for Missouri over whether or not he should wear blue jeans, that's not good conservatism. It's just being a brat. And, we got to get past that, too. So I think we have to look at in the mirror and say, who are we electing that can actually get stuff done? Because, being a statesman means you convince the other person that, your ideas are good and worthwhile. And I don't see them doing that. I think they're yelling at each other.
Well, and the amazing thing is that with the overwhelming Republican majorities, You all, I mean, yeah, I know that there's some who are more moderate than others, and some have different interests, rural and urban and all that kind of stuff. But the overwhelming number of Republicans, I would think, agree on most of this stuff, and it's still not getting done.
It's not getting done because they don't like each other. They simply don't like each other over there. I mean, that's all there is to it. And some things that get killed, not because it's not a good idea. It's just because I don't like you. I had bills at the end of the session that were good bills for Missouri, and I begged certain senators, please, can we sit down and just get these done before we kill the place? And they said, no, I want my stuff done. I'm sorry. We do need statesmen.
We're visiting with State Representative Jim Murphy. All right, Jim, let's go down to some of the big issues you're working with this session, and I'm hoping to get a preview of this week as well. Earnings tax. It comes up in Kansas City and comes up in St. Louis. An effort to kind of kill this off every year or every session. There's somebody who wants to see it done. What's your take on where the debate is over the earnings tax, obviously specifically in St. Louis? And then kind of the overall attitude towards taxing in Missouri right now. Are we going to see any changes or anything lowered?
Well, I think you're going to see a couple of things. I had an interim committee that I chaired over the summer. We held hearings on the earnings tax. And there's a couple of things that we're absolutely going to address, and we're going to address them quickly. One is the remote earnings tax in St. Louis. The city's flim-flamming and charging people that don't even work in the city a tax, which I believe is illegal. The courts have said it's illegal, but it's been appealed, so that's dragging out. But we need to fix that, and I've got a bill for that, and that'll move pretty quickly through the legislature. The other thing we're going to look at, and I believe we have some bipartisan support in, is indexing it to eliminate the low-income people out of that tax. But the reality is as our economy has changed, there's so many people working at home, and the city just has no plans for what to do to replace that tax. But as people start working remotely out of the city, that tax is going to decrease greatly over time, and they have absolutely no plans to replace it. And the legislature, has 2 or 3 proposals to try to weed them out of that, and of course they're pushing back. But reality is you have to look at your alternatives, and they refuse to do it.
Well, and one of the alternatives could also be cutting spending. I know that that's a strange thing to say, in a political environment these days, but the Missouri government has more money, as I understand it, than you've ever had before. Last year was a big infrastructure focus. There were some big parts of infrastructure planning that got done and funded. Absolute, completely legitimate part of state government. But when you look at the funding priorities this year, what is it that you foresee coming to the top? Because your main job, according to the Constitution, is to set a state budget. And you got a lot of money, but those federal one-time funds are running out.
Well, frankly, we don't have a lot of money. For the earning that's coming in right now is below estimates, and we're probably going to see a great decrease in our funding. And those funds that we have available in the bank are just going to take up the difference for a while. So I don't see that there's going to be any great big new programs this year. I think we're going to be lucky to hold on to the ones we have. That's just not going to happen. But I'll tell you, the other thing I think the state needs to look at is getting local spending under control. When you talk about earnings taxes, you talk about property taxes, the reason they're going up is we're spending way too much money. Mm-hmm. Government at the local level is out of control. And I think we should put some type of cap on that, along with the cap on, if you're going to cap how much tax they get, you should also cap how much they spend.
Yeah, well, that makes sense in all of our personal lives. If you don't have the money, you don't buy the stuff. That's pretty simple.
Exactly.
Okay, so Jim, look ahead to this week. It'll be the first full week of the legislature, and obviously there were already some fireworks last week, which we'll get to here in a minute. But the first few weeks, I know we're going to set some of the tone. My worry is that the important stuff gets pushed off till the very end again, and then a whole bunch of people raise their hands and say, well, the clock ran out, nothing we can do about it. What is it that should be the priority right up front that should be tackled right now? And then maybe compare that to what is going to be focused on in this first week.
Yeah, one of the things that we are doing in the House is we're actually having a caucus on what are our priorities and looking at individual bills and saying, is this the bill that we should get behind? And the first one out of the box was an education bill that we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at some crime bills. So they're probably the first two big issues we're going to be looking at. I was really disturbed over the weekend watching one of the political shows and seeing Caleb Rowden talking about IP reform, and he seemed pretty lukewarm on that, and that's disturbing to me. So I don't know that that's going to be we'll get it out of the House in some form or another. We're going to look at all the different versions, but I have very little hope that the Senate's going to do anything with it again, and it's just disheartening.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we've been doing here just kind of as observers, Jim, is trying to say we need to set our expectations pretty low when we should be saying, look at this overwhelming Republican majority. We should be setting them very high, and that disconnect in the middle is really, really frustrating.
Yeah, and it's a shame. If they just learned to get along, I think they could accomplish it. Forget the political makeup of the Senate. It's really the personal makeup of the Senate that's the biggest problem. It's not the political makeup. Everybody there could be convinced of something if you got along, but they don't get along. They actually sometimes hate each other.
What?
When I hear a senator saying, "I don't care what bill that guy has, I'll filibuster it," it's like this is beyond the pale. It's just dysfunctional.
What effect do you think the new Freedom Caucus, which of course used to be the Conservative Caucus, and a lot of those have now been part of the Freedom Caucus that launched formally on Friday, what effect, if any, do you think they're going to have on the process since there are both House and Senate members in that caucus?
I'm taking a wait and see. I think it can have a very positive effect, or it can have a very negative effect. If they become highwaymen where it's our way or the highway, it's going to be a problem. But if they're there and working and, like I said, becoming statesmen and convincing people that this is the right way to go, I think in that case it could be very, very positive. I have a 100% CPAC rating, so I'm all in for conservative values. So I hope it works.
And I was about to congratulate you on that 100% rating. So when you look at the session, what have you identified as your top one or two priorities that you want to shepherd through this process? And like you said, you can only deal with it going through the House, but what's your top on your to-do list?
Frankly, I'm with America. My number one priority is protecting my citizens against these illegal immigrants coming across the border. People think that we're not a border state. Yes, we are. The cartels are here. They're killing our children. We've got corporations and workers working under the table. I mean, it's just out of control. There's a lot of good immigration legislation this year, and I'm going to be the point of the spear on it.
What can the state do in that? Of course, the Biden administration suing Texas over trying to enforce immigration laws and arrests and things. But what can the state of Missouri do to deal with this?
Well, we've got about 3 or 4 bills that are actually very legal for us to do. We can do. One is I've got a bill that will punish companies that hire illegal immigrants under the table. We have bills in the works that would not tax but put fees on sending money back to Mexico, keeping our money here. And if you're legitimate and you file your taxes, you can get a refund on it. We have a criminal trespass bill if you're a legal immigrant. That's Texas has proven to be very effective and legal. So we have some bills on actually designating the cartels as terrorist groups in the state of Missouri. So there's all types of things we can do. What we have to do is send a message out that Missouri is not open to you. We don't want you here because you are criminals. And, people think that, we're just being unkind to people that need to be need to be free. Well, they were recruited by cartels. They were charged by cartels to get here. They were told that if we come across you follow the yellow brick road and find a streets paved to gold when you get here. And the fact of the matter is, it's not true. Most of them throw away their identity before they cross the border because they're not really from countries that there's political strife. They just want to come here and make money, and they're promised that they can. But now what they're finding is they go to New York and they're sleeping on the streets. I mean, this is a human tragedy. But we're being complacent with it. We're being part of it. We just can't do that.
All right, Jim, we've already tagged you on Twitter, but people want to be in touch, follow what you're doing. I always ask the question, what's the way to do it?
You can get me on Twitter, JMMurphy8, and same with Facebook.
All right, Representative Jim Murphy. Hey, appreciate the update, Jim. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, thanks.
All right, 314-912-1019. A couple of those bills he just said, Stel, regarding ways to go after the illegal immigration. A couple of those I think would absolutely stand up to constitutional muster. I'm not sure that trying to make it illegal to send money back to your home country is going to pass the court. I don't know about that one, but the other ones are absolutely
viable,
solid approaches. Yeah. All right. What do you think? 314-912-1019. Hey, did you know that the Secretary of Defense was in the ICU last week? No?
No, nobody did they?
Including the president. He didn't know either. Got the details for you just ahead here on 1019-94.1 News Talk STL.
I see your indifference. Stop right now before you blow us all away. You want to do that? Get up, can't you
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson in the morning. St. Louis's place to talk.
Freedom of speech is one of the anchors of our society.
News Talk STL.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss as part of our lineup every week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. And in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
Look through your children's eyes to see the true magic of a forest. It's a storybook world for them. You look and see a tree. They see the wrinkled face of a wizard with arms outstretched to the sky. They see treasure in pebbles. They see a windy path that could lead to adventure. And they see you, their fearless guide through this fascinating world.
Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
I really like all the things you're saying.
News, analysis, opinion.
Thank you very, very much.
News Talk STL.
Hey there, Tim Jones here. Make sure you join me and my buddy Chris Arps this afternoon from 4 until 6 p.m. right here on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. Right now, let's get back to more of Mike Ferguson in the morning.
A Missouri statewide official says this home was swatted last night. This is really ugly.
In Jeff City.
Yeah. Also, U.S. troops, vehicles, other installations. As we know, they're being attacked by Iranian-backed terrorist groups. And the United States Secretary of Defense was in the ICU and didn't tell anybody, including his boss.
You would think he would have sent a note out
goodness.
somewhere along the line, maybe a text or an email.
And when you look at the chain of events as media is putting it together, even the left-wing pro-Biden media is mad about this. I mean, they're angry about this.
They should be.
Yeah. All right. Also, gas prices. They're easing down again.
Mm-hmm.
Up and down a little bit, but overall down. Talk about that here as well. All right. It is 8:25. Got Stella here. I'm Mike. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, we now know, was in the hospital for 4 days. At least 4 days. I actually haven't seen a report that says he's discharged, but I don't think he's in the hospital anymore, but he was in for at least 4 days.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything either.
Including some time in the ICU at Walter Reed last week. All right, the Pentagon now confirms multiple reports that even his second in command at the department, along with key congressional leaders and even the president himself, did not know until at least the third day of him being in the hospital that he was there.
But, Mike, it's the holidays.
Yeah. I mean, let me tell you something. I live 4 hours away from my mom, and she can text me, pretty much find me anytime that she needs me.
Mm-hmm.
My wife travels constantly, and even she said, she goes, well, I know where you are all the time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the president didn't know where the Secretary of Defense was. All we know is that Lloyd Austin had what they were calling an elective surgery on December 22nd. No idea what that elective surgery was. He went home the following day, so it was something pretty minor. Who knows? But he was readmitted to the hospital January 1st when there were some complications, particularly a lot of pain, and he went into the ICU. And it was a few days later that people found out, oh, by the way, the United States Secretary of Defense is in the hospital.
It's a bit embarrassing when you realize nobody noticed.
Yeah. Or he didn't bother to tell anybody. I mean, I'm sure the president doesn't see the secretaries every day, but somebody needed to give somebody a heads up. I mean, you've got the Houthis and Hezbollah and all these literally attacking U.S. interests, and I'm sure he can text and do something, but they need to know that he's in the intensive care unit. I mean, that's just insane, and the media is really furious about this. And also, the political establishment is even looking around going, somebody's getting fired. Somebody's losing their job here. I don't think it's going to be Lloyd Austin, although he's apologizing for it. But, this is really, really bad and shows an incompetent structure, at least at that time of the administration, because that kind of drop in the ball is beyond insane.
Don on YouTube said he was getting transition surgery.
Yeah. Well, the military will pay for it now. And that's the thing is, like, there's very little, there's really nothing I agree with Lloyd Austin on. I think he's a terrible Secretary of Defense.
Indeed.
But he's the Secretary of Defense. The president needs to know if he's compromised in any way, like being in the hospital. Oh, jeez. Okay, speaking of other incompetent stuff, let's talk about Congress. Both Republicans and Democrats say they have reached a deal for 2024 spending to avoid a potential government shutdown later this month. I'm just going to say it again. I've said it once. I've said it before. They keep teasing me with this government shutdown, but they never actually shut down the government. Stop teasing me and shut down the government, please. Republican Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee was on the Fox Report last night. He was talking with Aisha Hasney, and he says he does not support the bill because he thinks it does not cut spending enough, although he does think it's going to pass.
We just giving out the free money, and eventually that debt's going to come due. We run every 2 years, and we're looking to get through the 2-year cycle, and then we'll start over again, and we'll go home and tell our constituents, oh, we're going to cut this, we're going to make cuts, we're going to defund the UN, and we're never going to do any of that stuff because we don't have the guts.
I got to tell you, that's really a refreshing honesty there, even though what he said is brutally hard to listen to at times, basically saying we're going to make promises, we're not going to follow through with them because not enough people have a spine. And he wasn't saying Democrats or Republicans, he meant Congress.
I saw an interview with E.J. Antoni from the Heritage Foundation a few days ago.
He's been on this show, yeah.
Yes, great guy, and he made a comment about congressional folks on the one side trying to say, hey, let's keep spending money. The other one saying, let's go back to pre-COVID.
Right.
And he said, you know what? If we go back to pre-COVID 2019, it would solve a ton of the problems that we've got.
Speaker Mike Johnson says this agreement that they say they've come to would be a $16 billion spending cut compared to the last agreement, which expires this month. Now, that'll probably make some people throw fits because if you're going to cut spending, then something gets cut. But that's just a drop in the bucket at $16 billion.
Yeah.
Just an absolute drop in the bucket. Okay, Missouri Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft posted on Twitter/X that his home was swatted last night about 10 hours ago or so. Nobody was hurt. We don't really have a lot of details other than that. He thanked the Jefferson City Police Department for what he called their professionalism. But that's a really scary situation. No word on who did it. They're probably never going to be able to find that person. Quick note here. Locally, 2 St. Louis City police officers were hurt in a crash at 20th and Olive on Sunday. The crash caused the police car to flip over. Reports say the officers were responding to a call. They did have their lights and siren on when they went through the intersection, and they collided with another car. That car went and hit another car, so there were 3 vehicles involved. Officers were taken to the hospital. They had minor injuries. I don't have any update on the drivers or the passengers of the other cars.
And if folks are wondering where that incident happened, 20th and Olive, I believe, would be just north of City Park, wouldn't it? The soccer stadium.
20th and Olive would be, let's see
Right
here.
around?
That would be a little bit east of, no, that'd be right around City Park. That'd be right around City Park. So it'd be west downtown.
Yeah.
I think you're
yes,
right.
downtown west.
Yeah, right around the City Park, at least those practice fields there that they have just south of the actual stadium. So, I think that's the right area.
Or just north of the stadium. Wouldn't it be just north?
20th?
Because Market Street, City
Olive,
Park is in.
Olive runs right just north of
Market.
Enterprise. So, it'd be right around that area. I'm trying to think where – here's how I gauge it. Where's Maggie O'Brien's? Which street is that on?
That's Market and 18th.
That's Market and
I
18th,
believe.
so it's going to be 2 blocks from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Maggie O'Brien's, when we were working at the other place, I was there at least once or twice a month for lunch.
Now that I think of it, isn't 20th and Olive right around where the police department headquarters are?
It's in the vicinity.
I think it's right around there, oddly enough.
Yeah. So
Anyway,
yeah. So anyway, another wreck that happened. Who's at fault? We don't know. But if they've got their lights and siren on, get out of the way. That's the bottom line on this. National average price for gallon of unleaded regular gas falling again over the last couple of weeks. Now the new average is $3.18. Oil analyst Trilby Lundberg, who publishes the Lundberg survey, explains what has fueled an 81-cent drop over the last 15 weeks.
Of that 81 cents that gasoline has dropped since late September, 78 cents of that is from crude oil, the remaining 3 cents being gasoline's own dynamics.
Okay, so here's the catch, though. Lundberg is saying that OPEC cuts in production and the Houthi attacks on merchant ships in the Red Sea could push some of those prices back up in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Blues are off today. They are on a 2-game winning streak. Team starts a 4-game homestand. The players have to love that. 4-game homestand that's going to run through mid-January, so they get to hang out at home for 2 weeks.
Not bad.
Yeah, they start with tomorrow's game against the Florida Panthers at Enterprise Center.
And big football game tonight, the National College Championship down in Houston. I think it's at NRG Stadium.
I believe so.
2 undefeated teams, Michigan and Washington. Not the 2 teams I would have expected.
No, there's no SEC team in this at all this time. What's going on, SEC? This was like your claim to fame here. Man, a lot of teams in the top 10, but nobody in the championship game this year.
Should be a good matchup, though.
It's going to be a good game. Yep.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Combo of rain, snow, and wind over the next couple of days. Our first round is this afternoon and this evening. A mix of rain and snow, maybe a little slush for the evening drive, but with a high of 41. I think that's more of an issue north and west of St. Louis. Tonight, we bounce back to all rain, and that continues through the morning rush tomorrow, a low of 37. Finally, as temperatures drop Tuesday afternoon, we switch to all snow. Final accumulations around the metro, 0 to 2 inches, with more to our northwest. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Fox News commentary.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams takes the Democrat-created illegal immigration crisis out on charter bus companies. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
The Fed's new FedNow system is all about surveillance and control. Secure your assets today with something Washington cannot manipulate. Hi, Stephen K. Bannon, and I recommend diversifying your retirement into a physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To learn more, get a free info kit by texting the word SHELTER to 989898. Do this right now. Text SHELTER to the number 989898 and get a free info kit from Birch Gold. There's no obligation or purchase required.
Message and data rates may apply.
The number of illegals let into this country under Biden at around 6 million. Border states have taken the brunt of impact, but blue cities have also been dealt a blow thanks to red state-led busing of illegals into sanctuary cities. But instead of the Democrat leaders calling for new policy or even better, a closed border, New York City Mayor Eric Adams has decided to take it out on bus companies instead. He filed a lawsuit against 17 charter bus companies out of Texas to the tune of $708 million he says will go to compensating his city for the care of these illegals. He asserts those bus companies have broken state law by not paying for the cost of caring for the illegals themselves. The last time I checked, Texas Governor Abbott has tried to stop the invasion, and Biden has cut his efforts off at the knees every single time. So Eric Adams, this is a blue city problem. You deal with it. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless at Outkick.com.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
We all know the healthcare system's broken. It's not about you. It's about the code, the bill, the 7-minute appointment. Hi, it's Dr. Randy Tobler, and I've developed a better way that restores old-fashioned values with a holistic approach to your health care. That means affordable, available, no copay or deductible primary care. And with my 30-plus years as an OBGYN, there's added value for women and couples. Whether it's a new or nagging problem, you need a second look at a troubling diagnosis, or simply want a trusting, relationship-based healthcare experience, give us a look at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Our mission is to provide exceptional, accessible, and truly affordable care where the focus is on you, not insurance denial and cookbook medicine experts. And with your membership, there's a number of perks, including hundreds of free meds, in-office ultrasound, common diagnostic tests, and more. Interested in seeing me or learning more about healthcare the way it ought to be? Schedule an appointment or a discovery call at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
The news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
It seems as if the Democrats no longer view the government's job as protecting honest citizens from criminals.
101.9 and 94.1.
But rather protecting criminals from honest citizens.
News Talk STL.
Dan Bongino here. Keep it on News Talk STL because my show starts at 11 a.m. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I remember finding out about you.
Going way back with this one.
Yeah, this is way back.
This is Badfinger from 1971, Day After Day. The reason I wanted to mention something about it is this is a band that got screwed by their label and management and everyone else. A very sad story.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to what happened to this band.
I mean, I know a couple Badfinger songs, but I never heard the story.
They had situations with the management, mismanaging finances, with record deals that fell through. Just a really sad situation. Definitely worth checking out if you want to find out how nasty the music business can be.
Yeah.
This is a band that got screwed over and should have been much bigger than they were.
Every business, every industry can be very cutthroat.
Yes.
With the music side, the supply and demand, especially for people trying to get in, because there's so much competition, man, they can work you over something fierce until you get to the top. Then it's a whole other thing. Like almost nobody has leverage over the industry.
And these guys were their band was one of the first to get signed to Apple Records, the home of the Beatles back in the day.
Okay.
And I think the first artist, Tony Colombo would probably correct me on this. I think James Taylor, believe it or not, might have been the first artist signed to Apple Records. Isn't that odd?
Oh, I didn't know that.
The reason I mention that is because Tony made some comment about it a couple of weeks ago. And I think he looked it up and realized he's a big James Taylor fan.
Oh, okay.
And said, yeah, James Taylor was the first artist. And I don't even recall that. I remember he was on the label, but to think that he was the first one before Badfinger, it's kind of interesting. Badfinger has, you can feel it in their melodies and lyrics. They resemble the Beatles quite a bit.
You can hear a little bit of that style in this song in particular.
So anyway, it's an interesting story for folks to check out if you want to see how nasty the music business can be.
Yeah. All right. It is, what the heck time is it? 8:40 right now. That's Del Ponticus. I'm Mike Ferguson. Okay, so in the 6 o'clock hour, we had a chat with Mike Gonzalez from the Heritage Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be posted on our podcast, our on-demand listening here in the next, 2-3 hours, something like that. So if you haven't already subscribed, you may want to do that because Mike is really tenacious when it comes to cracking down on the DEI nonsense, the gender nonsense, all of those things, not just because he's a really conservative guy. I mean, he's with the Heritage Foundation, but because of the effect that it has on other parts of our culture and our society. And that's what he was talking about a little bit earlier, Stel, because we started the conversation talking about Claudine Gay and the Harvard situation and the scandal. Okay, and it's a scandal to everybody except Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and people remember Claudine Gay was not pushed out because of her allowing and coddling anti-Semitism on Harvard's campus. That's what drew attention to her because of her absolutely horrible testimony in front of that House committee. But when that happened, and the world saw just how insanely Marxist and anti-Semitic this person is. Then people started looking into her background and looking into her credentials, and what they found was really sloppy work, and they found accusations of over 50 instances of plagiarism. Now, that's the cardinal sin in academia. So then it became a cultural battle over her and Harvard, and of course the left says, this is racism, this is an attack on a black woman, et cetera, and conservative media is saying, you've got somebody here who has made it, my goodness, this dry air is just, this cough will not leave me alone, who has made it to where she is right now, in large part because of the DEI push, because of checking boxes. And that's what Mike Gonzalez said a little bit earlier today. And of course, the question then comes up is, what role does that have? Now, we look at DEI. Gabe's not here at this point right now, but Gabe, I think, is probably even harsher on it than you and I are,
mm-hmm.
Because it's not about merit, because it's about checking boxes, because it's about, representation. It's not about merit. And Mike is the same. Mike is, he's written a couple really, really good books, and you can see those on our News Talk STL book club. But I asked the question, and check out that podcast a little bit to hear the conversation. I said, okay, but my kid's not going to go to college. Both my kids are in their mid to late 20s now. They're not going to deal with college again until their kids, whenever that happens. And I don't have any grandkids, but I don't have to worry about it. Why does it matter? And Mike pointed out that this cultural rot, and those are his terms, cultural rot that has infected the college and university and higher education affects so many other things. Well, I think we know that as well, but in particular, when you look at the Ivy Leagues, they still wrongly are looked at as the trendsetter for everything else in academia in the ivory towers.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're buying into the cultural rot, then so does everybody else, because these are supposed to be the elites. And he made the really, really strong case to say we have to reclaim this. Now, they're not going to go down without a fight, but we have to reclaim this from a cultural perspective in order to make sure that we can try to reclaim other aspects of our society. The fact of the matter is that the academy has way, way, way too much influence on our culture. 75 years ago, maybe we needed the so-called smart ones to have more of an influence because they were educated, they were learned, they were, more sophisticated, and we needed to kind of address, some areas where we want to improve as a society. But right now they're looking to tear us apart. And they can bestow upon each other all the degrees that they want, but that does not make them smarter or better. And Mike made a really compelling case to say, listen, this is chopping away at our foundations of our culture and society, not just to correct the stuff that we need to correct, but to tear apart the good elements of it. And he's right.
I got to give Mike credit for coming up with DEIU as a moniker for the situation. And did you not find it interesting that Claudine Gay wrote an opinion piece that showed up in the next day in the New York Times?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the New York Times. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, because I read her resignation letter and I referenced it on the air. And then when you look at her op-ed that was published, basically she was the victim and this was racism.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in academia, I mean, just 25 years ago, 20 years ago, you had any cases of plagiarism, you were basically run out on a rail.
You're out the door.
Unless you did the groveling on your hands and knees apology tour to atone for your academic sin. Now, apparently that doesn't even matter at the highest level of the academy if you are bought in to the narrative. And that's where we see it with Claudine Gay. Now, Gay, because remember, she didn't lose her job. She's not the president of Harvard anymore. She's not a victim. She's still making $900,000 a year.
That's right.
As a faculty member at Harvard, when honestly she should be disqualified.
And I believe Liz McGill at UPenn is also still on faculty.
Right, she's still on faculty.
Still making her salary.
Whatever that is. And so what you have is a narrative and a protecting your own kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if I really do think that if the left, I mean, they will throw almost nobody under the bus. They're saying we can't admit that somebody did something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And if there is a sin to throw them out, it's going to be something that has to do with somebody conservative. I mean, for instance, not even conservative, but in Missouri, there's a state representative, Democratic state representative, very left-wing named Sarah Unsicker. Almost nobody's ever heard of her. She's running for attorney general. She has no chance of being it whatsoever. She got into a spat with the Democratic caucus and was expelled because she posted on social media about having lunch or coffee or something with some weirdo conspiracy theorist guy who people say is a right-wing guy. I've never heard of him, but apparently she was bragging on social media about having coffee or conversations with some weirdo who's not on the far left. And that was enough to get her tossed out of the Democratic caucus.
That's
they
crazy.
Can't afford to reduce their numbers at all.
Oh, my goodness. That is nuts.
But the Democrats will, instead of saying, well, look at all of these documented cases of plagiarism or accused plagiarism.
Yes.
Then.
Well, when you saw them side by side.
Oh, it
was really obvious. And thankfully, Dr. Carol Swain from Vanderbilt actually came out and said, hey, that's some of my stuff there.
Yeah. Well, and my wife being a professor herself, she went in and tapped into the academic circles. And what the assessment is that in addition to the cases of plagiarism, they're saying this is just sloppy work. This is just not high quality work. And that doesn't have anything to do with her being on the far left. That just has to do with her not being qualified. And back to Mike Gonzalez's point, he says this is part of what happens when you buy into the DEI. It's not just a matter of we don't like it ethically and culturally. We don't like it because it's not a meritocracy. It's because the imposition of it by these institutions, by government, which we're seeing in state, local governments, the school boards all over the place, because that chips away and that cultural rot infects the foundations of our society and the foundations of our culture and the foundations of our economy. And that's not just what happens in a classroom or a boardroom. It affects everything else, which is why we've got to be in tune and able to push back in an intelligent way.
And speaking of pushing back, a couple of points here, and you can comment on them. One of them is the Daily Mail today has a story about the interim president at Harvard being on a couple of boards for major oil producers and earning over $1 million a year from being on those board of directors. And speaking of board of directors, to jump just to continue on that point. Does the board of directors at Harvard need to resign? They were the ones that made the decision to hire her.
Yeah.
And I've heard nothing about, well, maybe the board of directors should be resigning.
They're sitting on an endowment of over $1 billion.
Huge.
By the way, those was they said oil companies that this
and he's on board
making $1 million a year.
Yeah.
Wow. Listen, I'll do it for $500,000. I'll save you some money. I don't know the first thing about the oil industry, but you know what? I'll save you some money, and I'll take one for the team. I'll do it for $500,000.
Yeah, Hunter Biden did it for the team. You know, he
whatever he got paid, I'll do it for half.
Yes.
Let's see,
because he didn't know anything about it when he joined Burisma.
Right.
So
exactly, I can Google stuff. I'll be fine. I am not using crack or anything else, so I'll be more clear-headed than him.
That's right.
So it's a value. It's a deal. I'll do it.
Okay.
All right. 314-912-1019. This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL.
Every day my mind is all around you.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Looking out from my lonely room, day after day.
This is Everett Jones of Jones Air and Water Treatment. For the months of January and February, we're here to make your drinking water, cooking, ice, tea, coffee, and other water-based beverages clean, crisp, and free of contaminants. Joey, what do you think of yours?
We use ours here at the station every day, and it's great. There's no cumbersome big bottles, no plastic waste, and it seems endless.
Call us now at 636-899-1040 and schedule your free analysis and let us get you on the way to higher quality water. You can be a filter or buy a filter. Find us on the web at joneswater.com.
So we finally got the parts for the time machine.
Classic Kicks Country is streaming now. Hear all your new country favorites from the 90s. Streaming as it happened in the 90s. Classic Kicks. Download the Classic Kicks app from the App Store. Online at ClassicKicks.com. Or enable the Classic Kicks skill on Alexa. 90s new country streaming now.
This is your captain. We are going to be experiencing some slight turbulence. Please fasten your... Oh, hold on. Just got a video of my cat.
Imagine the pilot of an airplane was as confident as you are texting and driving. Seems kind of crazy when you put it like that.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
What new chaos and crises did Joe Biden start over the weekend? We'll discuss at 4:25 with former U.S. Senator Jim Talent. Red State Headlines at 5:25 with Susie Moore.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Hey everybody, it's Rob Carter. Join me on Sunday nights as I challenge our politicians, expose the political press, and analyze pop culture. It's the Rob Carter Show on Sunday nights from 6 to 8 p.m. Now let's get back to the best men's league over 40 backstop in St. Louis. Mike Ferguson in the morning.
You know, Rob's show so much fun, so good. You know what's really too bad is that he's only on one night a week.
Yeah.
I don't know. Wouldn't it be cool if he were on, say, Monday through Friday?
It would be awesome.
Yeah.
You know, he did a great job filling in for Tony and Katie Thursday and Friday.
And then us before that.
That's right.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, he and Susie filled in.
I'm just saying, wouldn't that be cool?
It would be a nice idea.
I'm just going to leave it
in
that
case
way.
anybody's listening out there in management and maybe could work something out.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
We'll see how that goes.
All right.
All right. It is 8:53 right now. I'm Mike Ferguson. Got Stel Ponticus here as well. Okay, so Rachel and I went and saw Napoleon.
Mm-hmm.
Where the boss is like, what the heck? Okay, so
you did Napoleon. And then, you didn't go to Napoli?
No,
you went to
we
a
were,
different restaurant.
Here's
That's right.
This is another total Mike move. We showed up at Napoli because I went on the app to book the table and everything because it was our anniversary, and I walk in there and they're like, we don't have you.
Uh-oh.
And I went and I pulled up the thing. I'm like, oh, never mind. I'm at Prosino across the street. Sorry.
Oh.
I'm like, oh, okay.
Prosino's a nice restaurant.
Which was literally 20, 30 steps away.
Yeah.
And Napoli's great. I love that place. But for whatever reason, I actually clicked Prosino.
Which is Greek for green, by the way, in case you were wondering.
Did not know that.
Yeah, it's Greek for green. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I thought it was Greek for very tasty food.
Well, that too.
That's right. Because we just went there. But we went to Napoleon, the new movie with Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
Interesting. It was worth seeing. Not one of my favorite movies of all time, but it's one of those where I'm glad I went to see it. I would say, if somebody asks, well, should I go see it? Is it worth seeing? Yes. Would I go see it a second time? No.
Aha.
One, it's very, very long, but it's Ridley Scott, so it's very, very well done.
Mm-hmm.
And Joaquin Phoenix is a phenomenal actor.
He is.
Really weird dude.
Very quirky.
Very Quirky is a nice way to put it. Now, I don't want to be too mean to the guy because he had like a horrible childhood and like that weird cult that he grew up in and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But a weird, really weird dude. But the movie was really well done. And it's funny when you look back, because Rachel and I, at the end of the movie, we're kind of looking at each other. We're both saying to each other, I have thoughts on this. Very unusual.
Whoa, there
Pardon
you go.
me. Pardon
There it
me.
is.
All right. And so we had a fun conversation at dinner over the movie. And then it continued Sunday morning when we were comparing notes. Because Rachel's looking at him, she's like, what are the historians saying about this? Well, they're saying that there were some things that they got right. And the historians were mad, like, that didn't actually happen. And Josephine, his wife, was actually older than him. And it's like, shut up. It's a movie.
See, this reminds me of being at your Christmas party.
Yeah.
And you had a whole group of folks over on the side talking about Voltaire.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
That was great.
Because that's the thing is at the Ferguson party right there, we have the radio people. There's a cluster of the radio people. Then there's a cluster of the baseball people. And then there's a great big cluster of the academic people. And then there are like some from like the churches and nonprofits and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So we have all of these people at our roaming the Ferguson property that's happening. It's really kind of funny because
That was fun.
Oh, we always, it's one of those things where I wish I could like rotate it in all the groups because you're like trying to say hi to everybody and it's thing, but everybody seems to have a really good time at it.
Yep.
And then all the radio people in one room, and Larry Connors was a huge hit.
Good.
And the baseball guys grabbed him and like, no, you're sitting with us. You're sitting. But no, it was a blast. But yeah, this movie here with Napoleon, it was definitely worth seeing. Now, keep in mind, it's almost 3 hours long. It is a long movie. It's like 2 hours, 48 minutes or something like that. Really, really long. So go to the bathroom before you go see the movie. But it's an interesting development of the character and everything that goes with it. Really, really well done. But you go on your own. I'm not going with you next time. I'm not going to give it away. I don't want to spoil too much, but he dies at the end.
Oh, no. No.
In 18, whatever. All right, Vic Porcelli coming your way here at right around 9:04 on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
And he was a little guy, too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
So perhaps my work here is done. Perhaps it's time that I moved on to a place where there's stuff to do. Stuff to do.
When it's important to you,
Great, you're talking about this.
it's on News Talk STL.
Continue to supply Ukraine with critical weapons and equipment as long as we can.
This administration and Democrats are not for securing our border, but they are for securing the Ukrainian border.
News, analysis, opinion.
I'm also here today to correct how the MAGA right has portrayed me for their political purposes.
This is an impeachment inquiry.
101.9 and 94.1.
This has been a serious, credible, transparent investigation from day one.
News Talk STL.
It was phenomenal.
The Freedom Principle and News Talk STL invite you to a special St. Louis City Town Hall on Friday, January 12th at the Immaculate Heart of Mary Church. Join moderator Tim Jones and expert panelists for a crucial discussion, Building a Better, Safer St. Louis City. Learn what legislators are doing in Jefferson City to protect and build a safer community for all citizens. The St. Louis City Town Hall is free and open to the public. Visit freedomprinciplemo.org for more information.
Hi, this is Chad with Clayman Group, KLAMEN Group.com. We've been buying a lot of houses lately with foundation problems. St. Louis is notorious for having issues with people's basements, whether it's settlement, water coming in, cracks, or mold from previous water being there. We buy houses in all of those types of conditions. So if you have basement problems or you're thinking about getting it fixed, please reach out.